And this is St. Louis Cardinal baseball. I'm Paul D, and this is Bombers Game Mic. Tonight, the Redbirds are out in Sacramento, California, taking on the Athletics with no specifically designated home market. They're still stuck in that little minor league ballpark out in Sacramento until about a year and a half from now. They go and ultimately, for the most part, get their new stadium out in Las Vegas. But tonight, that's where the game is playing. That is what we are doing. And here we are, folks. Here we are. On the hill right now for the Redbirds, Matthew Liberatore. He is heading out for the Redbirds tonight, is the left-hander. He's 2-1 with a 4.07 ERA. And tonight on the bump for the Athletics, the A's are throwing out there their right-handed pitcher, J.T. Ginn. He's 1-1 with a 3.62 ERA coming into tonight. Now let's give you the starting lineup for your St. Louis Cardinals. Leading off is Weatherholt at second base. At DH is Herrera. He's batting second. First baseman tonight is Burleson, batting third. And right, the all-world Jordan Walker in cleanup in right field, followed by the fifth spot, the third baseman, Gorman. Then in the seventh hole, the shortstop Wynn. Six is Wynn. In left field, at batting seventh is Church. Behind the plate is Pages. And then batting ninth is Old Scott, the second in center field. For the Athletics, leading off at DH tonight, their usual catcher, Shea Langoliers, he's leading off, followed by the first baseman, Kurtz, he's batting second. Batting third in right field is Thomas, he's in the three hole. Out in left field, Rooker, he's cleaning up. In center field, in the five hole, is Bolt, followed by the catcher tonight, Chaim, he's batting sixth. Galoff, the third baseman, batting seventh. Hernandez at shortstop, batting eighth. And Stefanik at second base, batting ninth. Now, ultimately, the important takeaways here at the moment for the Cardinals going into tonight is Matthew Liberatore, the left-hander. If he has his hook working, if he has the velocity and location on his fastball, for the most part, he will be very effective. If he's not, he is a fringe fifth starter. A lot of Cardinal hopes in 2026 absolutely depend on the performance of Matthew Liberatore. He's no McGreevy, but hey, who is right now? Who is? So we are exactly 6 minutes away from the scheduled first pitch out in Sacramento, California at Sutter Health Park, a.k.a. the AAA facility that the A's have to play in when they're at home because they left the Coliseum, and their new home out in Sacramento ain't ready yet. Ain't going to be ready until about the beginning of 2028. But we'll see how that all develops. Naturally, the A's have pissed off a great many fans in the Northern California area based on how they've handled this whole thing, going back to when they were even still playing in the Oakland Coliseum. But the lefty Liberatore on the mound tonight against the righty Ginn. As far as Ginn is concerned, he is all about that sinker. It needs its velocity. If he's able to locate it, if he's able to keep it down, he will be very effective. In addition to that, he also will use a cutter as well as a more pronounced breaking ball by way of his slider. If they're working, they're great. And historically, he has not done well against left-handers, though that has improved a great deal this year. It's righties that are giving him the hard time. So we shall see on the part of the Athletics We are very close to game time here on Bombers Game Mike. It is the Redbirds at the Athletics out at Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, California. And this park has definitely developed something of what we might call a reputation, both for their players, undoubtedly, as well as visiting players and just the experience in general. Fact of the matter is, it's very hard to make major league accommodations in a facility that most certainly was not designed to accommodate that. And I'm not in any way oblivious to the difficulties of that if you're a major leaguer. I mean, I don't think they all have that much to complain about. They are playing a game for multi-million dollars a year, so I think they can handle a little bit of hardship on their part. I don't think I'm being too terribly callous in that assessment. But whatever the case is, for the most part, the A's seem to be a little bit more locked in on the road sometimes. Hell, Severino last year, the difference in numbers between when he was pitching at quote-unquote home in Sacramento compared to when he was on the road were basically day and night for Severino. And, this is primarily a Yankee play-by-play channel, but I am a transplant native to the St. Louis area. I usually have the Missouri River hanging out just a few hundred feet behind my shoulders. And this is audio only tonight in terms of our broadcast. So in the future, if I do Cardinal games in the future, I will certainly be on camera. And we are awaiting scheduled first pitch, which falls at 8:40 p.m. Central Time for you Cardinal fans in the audience. And the lefty-righty matchup tonight, Liberatore, they need him in order to go on to the series win. Of course, they split this weekend against the very talented and playing very well for the most part San Diego Padres. So cheers to that. But a win tonight would secure a series win out in Sacramento. And then we see what happens tomorrow. And, of course, they come back home for the homestand that starts out, of course, against their I-70 rivals, the Kansas City Royals. And that's always exciting. That's always a good one to chime in for. Cardinal fans, Royals fans, they always get pumped for this sort of thing, and I don't blame them. I mean, I know the Royals aren't great. The Cardinals are obviously vastly improved this year, despite their youth. And it's a beautiful night out in Sacramento. 76 degrees, wind at 11 miles per hour, perfectly blue, almost completely absent of cloud sky out in Northern California tonight, though it definitely looks like something of a difficult sun for the right fielders and very likely the center fielders in this game easily through the first 3 innings of this ball game. But the Cardinals, they're 2.5 back behind what had recently been the red-hot Cubs in this case, who have luckily cooled off, and now they're right there. And once again, we'll be able to give you the quick lineup here in just a moment. Once again, leading off for the Cardinals is Weatherholt at second, Herrera at DH, batting second, batting third, Burleson at first, batting fourth, Jordan Walker, the right fielder, he's cleanup, batting fifth, the third baseman, Gorman, batting sixth, the shortstop, Wynn, batting seventh, the left fielder, Church, batting eighth, the catcher, Pagayas, and batting ninth, Old Scott the second in center field. And on the bump here is J.T. Ginn. He has a 5.17 ERA, 1-0 in 5 games. He's mostly a sinker-cutter slider guy. He has a show-me changeup and the occasional four-seam fastball, but it's usually sinker-cutter slider, but mostly sinker-cutter. He is given his warm-up tosses before we begin this at-bat, and Weatherholt will be the one leading off here for the Redbirds. And feel free to join in for the chat here. Do you think the Liberatore can come in and secure the series win tonight against the Athletics? Make yourself known in the chat. Are you watching from the St. Louis area? Are you watching from somewhere afield? Let me know in the chat. I always like knowing you guys are there. It is almost time for first pitch. In fact, it's about a minute past the scheduled first pitch. Well, they're there. He's sitting on deck, waiting to be given the cue. to get in the box. Final tosses of a warm-up for the righty J.T. Ginn. Like I said, sinker, cutter, slider, show me changeup. That's what he's all about. And the Cardinals are going to need to go and combat that tonight. And hopefully get into that Athletics bullpen, which is always an adventure, I like to think, as a baseball fan. So thank you all for joining me here tonight on Bombers Game Mike. And we are just about ready for first pitch as J.T. Ginn is just clearing off the clay stuck in his feet. In here is the leadoff man, the lefty Witherell. And on the rubber to the extreme first base side is Ginn. He is ready, and he comes from the wind. And here's the first pitch. Hit on out to left field, and it drops for a base hit in left center field. The center fielder fields it on a hop, and on the first pitch, Witherholt jumps all over that for a lead-off single here in the top of the first inning. Watching from Tulsa, Oklahoma. You got several Athletics on your fantasy team. Hey, I'm all about fantasy baseball. I love it. And I always enjoy the love from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you so much for chiming in. Now, here's the righty Herrera. On first base is Witherholt. From the stretches, J.T. Ginn. He comes set above the belt. He throws over to first. Witherholt's back easily with the head first slide. And Herrera, he's batting .267 with 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, and .826 OPS through 41 games this year. He is the DH here tonight. It's a righty-righty matchup. Leading off first is Witherholt. Coming set at the letters at the stretches, Ginn. Here's the pitch. Inside, a sinker missed the plate and just below the letters. And the count is now 1-0. Anybody else joining me here, let me know where you're watching from in Cardinal Nation. Are you local? Are you further afield? Are you in a different country? Coming set is Ginn at the letters. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Hit to the left side. Played there by the third baseman. He throws the second one on the first double play. So a strong ground ball right to the third baseman. He manages to pivot, go to second one for the force out, and then on to first for the double play. So 2 outs here in the top of the first inning for the Redbirds. That erases the leadoff single by Witherholt. And we go to the 3-hitter now. Alec Burleson, he's in first base tonight. 2 on, nobody out after the double play. Nothing here in the top of the first inning. Coming set is Ginn. Here's the pitch. Outside, a ball. Looks to be a sinker out and away. The count's 1-0. And Ginn, like many young starters today, has sometimes completely forsakes the windup, even though he's going for it right now. Here's the 1-0. Up and away, forcing fastball out of the zone to the lefty hitting Burleson. Count is 2-0. Unfortunately, we thought it would be more of a quick start here coming off that lead-off single, but no dice. From the full wind, here's a 2-0. Just missed low and away with that sinker. The count is now 3-0 to the lefty Burleson, who himself is hitting .264 on this 2026 campaign. Ginn has the sign. He comes to the full wind and the 3-0. Strike, sinker, inside corner right at the knees. In statue mode there was Burleson. He's not going to just let Ginn back into the at-bat. And the count is now 3-1 to the lefty hitting Burleson. From the full wind is Ginn. Here's the pitch. Strike. Up about I would say, below the belt, certainly on the outer third of the plate. And the count is now full. 3 balls, 2 strikes to the 3-hitter out in Sacramento tonight. Thank you for joining Bombers Game Mike for this Cardinal edition. Here's the pitch. Hit on down the third baseline and out of play. And the count remains 3-2. So 2 out, nobody on, no score in the top of the first inning. The lead-off single by Witherholt was unfortunately erased with the double play. It is a full count to Burleson. From the full wind comes Ginn. The pitch. Chopped down the first base side and out of play. And we get to do 3-2 all over again. So I thank you all for joining me here tonight for St. Louis Cardinal baseball. It's excellent to call a little bit of Redbirds action as a transplanted local in St. Louis. Now here's the 3-2. hit on out there to right center field. Going back is the center fielder in front of the track, and it is over his head, and it caroms off the wall. Going around second is Burleson. Does he turn the corner? And he has himself undeniably at least a stand-up double. And given the absolutely terrible relay throw from the outfield, that it went flying over both the shortstop and third baseman's head there for the most part, Burleson, had he had his mind to it, potentially could have had a stand-up triple. But whatever the case, he has himself a 2-out double out in the top of the first inning tonight. So some initial fireworks here on the part of the Redbirds. In fact, Burleson, by the time he realizes the throw was crap, he was halfway to third base and decided to retreat to second. Now, here's the all-world Jordan Walker, the cleanup hitter. The righty has just been incredible at .298 this year. Here's the pitch. Fouled straight back behind the plate and out of play. The count is 0-1. And Jordan Walker, talk about putting it all together at once, folks. He has been absolutely incredible. At age 23, it's finally coming together. He is finally the Cardinal we knew he could be. From the stretch, here's the 0-1 pitch. Chopped down the third base side and out of play. And the count is a no balls, 2 strikes to the righty slugger, Jordan Walker. I mean, he has really just been the absolute a gem. It has been fantastic to watch him come into his own here in 2026. Time is granted by the home plate umpire at the behest of Jordan Walker, so we get to wait a little longer. And the count's 0-2. Runner on second, 2 out, following that 2-out double by Burleson. He's standing down at second. Jordan Walker has one idea in his mind, and that's to drive him right in. Now here's the 0-2 pitch. Strike 3 called on the outside corner right above the knees, and that will do it. Jordan Walker goes down in the observatory for the third and final out of the inning. But it is now St. Louis 0 and the Athletics coming to bat in the bottom of the first inning. I'm Paul D, and this is a special St. Louis Cardinals edition of Bombers Game Mike. So not entirely what Jordan Walker was looking for, or the Cardinals right there. One thing is for sure, they do seem to be dialed in somewhat right now on Ginn. Because if Ginn is not getting that sinker down, if he's not getting the velocity on that sinker, it doesn't work for him. It doesn't come around. So the fact of the matter is he's definitely left some stuff up. That called strike 3 on Walker right there was almost the equivalent of a 90s Greg Maddux 2-seam fastball, where it would just break into the left edges and then just take that sharp turn to the inside of the plate. Or it does a very similar thing with the right-handers, just catching them on the outside corner. It was not a bad pitch. And as Cardinal fans, we all really do enjoy good baseball. We will applaud a good play, I guess, unless it's from the Cubs. But that's a different story. That's a different story. They call it baseball heaven. There's reason for this. Paul's not going to deny that. So we await the bottom of the first inning with the Athletics coming out to bat. Leading off for them tonight is going to be their usual catcher at DH, Shea Langoliers. He is one of the more well-regarded catchers in all of baseball, to say the very least. He was certainly very good when he was in New York playing the Yankees earlier. Now, here's Matthew Liberatore, a 5.25. No, excuse me, his ERA is a 4.07, 2-1. Fastball, slider, changeup, curve, and that curve is the thing that is absolutely devastating. Hell yeah, absolutely. Langoliers, Kurtz, Rooker, and Hernandez. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to right field. Right fielder is right there to make the catch in the person of Jordan Walker. So 1 pitch, 1 out here in the bottom of the first inning. Cheers to that. It was pretty much right there. He has his sunglasses on because that sun that's just coming down over the horizon, it's right there for both right fielders and center fielders for that matter. 1 pitch, 1 out for Liberatore from the full wind. Here's the first pitch. A slider down and away in the dirt there to the lefty Kurtz. Count is 1-0. Every time I see him play, I keep thinking of Colonel Kurtz from, you know the movie. You know the movie. Here's the 1-0 pitch. That is a four-seam fastball up and away and out of the zone. The count is 2-0. Back in is Kurtz, the left-hander. It is a lefty-lefty matchup. Here's a 2-0. Strike, four-seam fastball, outside corner, right at the knees. The count is 2-1 to Kurtz. So there is no question that Liberatore has to locate. And when he's locating, he absolutely sets up the breaking stuff perfectly. I mean, just a really dynamite Uncle Charlie. Now, here's a 2-1 pitch. Strike, slider, almost right down Broadway, just below the belt. That is a 20-26 strike by all means, and the count is now 2-2. There's one out here, nobody on to the bottom of the first inning, no score out in Sacramento. Now, here's a 2-2. Stringing strike 3, down goes Kurtz. For the second out of the inning. So really just masterful stuff there on the breaking ball down and away to Kurtz. Kurtz lost his helmet swinging at that thing. And that'll bring out 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning. Coming up to bat is the righty Thomas. He's in the 3 spot. He's hitting .318. First pitch from Liberatore. Hit on out to right field. Walker right there, about 10 feet in front of the track. He makes the catch for the third and final out of the inning. The Athletics, they go in order. There's no score as we head to the top of the second inning. I'm Paul D. This is Wednesday night St. Louis Cardinal baseball from Northern California. And you are watching, listening, and hopefully enjoying to this special presentation of Bombers Game Mic. So a good start there by Liberatore. The lefty seems to be on his game at the moment. A strikeout and a couple of flyouts to right. You'd sign up for that. You'd sign up for that. I'd sign up for that. And, of course, leading off here in the top of the second is going to be Gorman, followed by Wynn. And then, of course, Church, who's playing in left field tonight. And it is so refreshing, in the St. Louis area, to have a Cardinal team that at present is competitive. Cardinal fans have really suffered through that over the last few years, and it's been almost criminal how it's all gone down. But so far, Chaim Bloom, his vision seems to be panning out, at least so far. And this young Cardinal team under Ollie Marmol, they're right in the thick of it. Absolutely 100% in the thick of it in the NL Central. Now, they are a young team, and they probably could do with a bit more pitching, both in the rotation and the bullpen. But we're talking the middle of May right now, and the Cardinals are only 2.5 back of the Cubs, tied also with the Milwaukee Brewers. So that is what that is, unfortunately. So we're here now, back for the top of the second inning. Leading off here is Gorman for the Redbirds. Ginn is out for his second frame of work tonight. Into the box is the lefty Gorman. Here's the pitch. Strike, slider, outside corner at the knees to the lefty Gorman. And that'll bring the count to no balls and 1 strike. 224, 5 home runs, 22 RBIs, a 662 OPS in 2026 for Gorman. Here's the pitch. Just off the plate, a sinker. Missed the plate, had the height about thigh high. The count is 1-1 to Gorman. And Ginn, the righty here, is moving quickly. He has the sign from the full wind. Here's the 1-1. Swinging strike on a four-seam fastball upstairs and right down Broadway. And it counts now 1-2 to Gorman. The Athletics tonight, they're wearing their standard Kelly green alternate jersey with the white letters and the yellow sleeves and white pants. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Grounded foul down the first base side and out of play. The Redbirds are in their standard road grays with the birds on the bat across the chest with the red caps and helmets. They are very much for tradition. Now from the full wind is Ginn. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Up and away, a four-seam fastball. Just literally head high and out nearly over the righty's batter's box. And the count is 2-2 to the lefty, Gorman. No score here in the top of the second inning. Ginn is once again from his full wind. And the pitch. Up and away, sinker. Once again, about letter high, though over the plate. And that brings the count full against Gorman. Definitely looking for the leadoff walk if he can definitely arrange it. That's certainly the mortal sin for pitchers. Here's the pitch. Ball 4 on a sinker out and away. Missed the plate about belt high. And Gorman will take his base on first. So a runner on first. Nobody out in the top of the second inning. Yeah, Ginn basically just committed one of those mortal sins of pitching and never, ever, ever get the leadoff guy. Never walk him. Now, here's Mason Wynn, the shortstop, the right-handed hitter, 250, a home run, 16 RBIs through 36 games this season. Gorman leads off first, and Ginn is from the stretch. First pitch. Just inside a sinker off the plate, a little above knee high. The count is 1-0. Runner on first, nobody out, no score in the top of the second inning. The shortstop Wynn, the righty, is in the box. Coming set from the stretch is Ginn. The pitch. Just missed the outside corner, 94 miles per hour with a sinker. The count is 2-0. So ultimately, this all comes down to how he's locating that sinker. Off of that, he can basically work his cutter and slider as necessary. But without that sinker working, it just doesn't work. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to right center field, giving chase to the right field, and it bounces in for a hit. So runners on first and second and nobody out, followed by the single there on the part of Wynn. So runners on first and second and nobody out. And yes, that sinker was up. It was about thigh high. Wynn, like any professional hitter and knows they're dealing with a sinker, is always trying to go the other way. And now the Redbirds have runners on first and second and nobody out. Now here's the left-handed hitter, Nathan Church, in left field, 244, 5 home runs, 17 RBI through 38 games this season. He has a 693 OPS on this campaign. Playing back and shaded to the right is the Athletics defense in the infield. Coming set is Ginn. Now here's the first pitch to Church. Outside a sinker. Did not have the plate. Was about thigh high. The count is 1-0 to Church. This is a righty-lefty matchup. He sees two ducks on the pond right now. Coming set from the stretch is the righty Ginn. Here's 1-0. Hit on out there to right field. Right there is the right fielder. He makes the catch with the sun in his eyes, and he throws it on in. Tagging from second is the runner, Burleson, from second. Correction, that is not Burleson. That is Gorman. Correction. Gorman makes it over to third, so runners on first and third and one out after the line out to right field there. And that will be the first out of the inning. Stepping up to bat, Pedro Pagais, catcher. The right-handed hitter. He has runners on first and third and one out. And here's the pitch. Strike, slider, outside corner at the knees to the righty, Pagais. And the count here is 0-1. What's my favorite baseball mascot activity? Dugout dancing, foot race, or T-shirt cannon? Let's put that on ice for a moment. I'm definitely going to answer that. Coming set is Ginn. Here's the 0-1. Showing bunt is the runner. Hit is right in front of the plate. Picked up by Ginn. He throws to first in time for the second out of the inning. The runner will advance to second on the fielder's choice. Okay. That's a question that deserves... No, unfortunately, Alec Burleson has not hit a home run. That'd be nice, but no. So, favorite baseball mascot activity? Well, anytime the Fanatic goes and takes out an opposing fan playfully, that's always kind of cool. Mr. Met is a classic. Now, here's the pitch. Inside, forcing fastball just off the plate and thigh high to Scott. The 9-hitter. The count is 1-0. Runners on second and third, 2 out. All your questions in the comments, I'm going to definitely answer them more directly in the half inning. So Keep it on ice for now. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swinging strike on a sinker out and away. Swung right underneath that one, did Scott. And the count is 1-1 strike. Scott is digging back in. Runners on second and third, 2 out. No score here in the top of the second inning. It's a 1-1 count. Ginn deals. Check swing. Did he go around? Yes, says Blue down the third baseline. And that'll bring the count to 1-2. Victor Scott II, 184 with the home run, 5 RBIs, 45 OPS through 39 games this season, is tonight's Redbirds center fielder. He's on defense now. It's a 1-2 count. Ginn comes set at the letters, and here's the 1-2. Hit down towards second base, fielded on a couple of hops. He throws to first in time to end the inning. So, despite the early fireworks and threatening on the part of the Redbirds here in the top of the second, they managed to put nothing across. We go to the bottom of the second inning. It is no score out in Northern California. I'm Paul D., and this is a special presentation of Bombers Game Mike. Okay, favorite baseball activity, dugout dancing, foot race. Okay, I will say I actually like the Nationals mascot foot race with all the presidents more than I enjoy the sausage hot dog thing they have going on up in Milwaukee, because I have no sympathy for Milwaukee. As far as the T-shirt cannon, I actually was successful in getting a T-shirt from a cannon back in 1998 at Shea Stadium. That I also saw. I believe it was Mark McGwire's 51st home run that year. And on that very, very damp day at Shea Stadium, I managed to get a T-shirt from the cannon as it bounced off the facade of the second deck and came back to me on the rebound down in the main section. I think it's possible. Let's put it this way. Burleson, it's going to have a lot to do with Ginn locating that sinker. And he has not done a supreme job tonight in doing that consistently. Especially, and he's had issues against left-handers in his career. That much is certain. But what I can say is, if that sinker keeps staying up, that's going to turn into batting practice. And a hitter of the caliber of Burleson won't miss it very often, I can assure you that. So I really do appreciate you joining here in the chat. John Lou 5097. And having a little bit of fun here, watching and listening and following the Cardinals athletics out in Northern California on this special edition of the Bombers Game Mike. All right, Liberatore, he's back on the mound. 0-3-0 for the Cardinals, 0-0-0 Athletics going to the bottom of the second. Indeed, Liberatore from the full wind, he deals. Breaking ball down and in to the righty Rooker. Nowhere near the zone. The count is 1-0. That hook can be absolutely devastating, but it needs to be set up by that fastball. He needs command there. Here's the pitch. Head on out to left field. Right there is the left fielder. He makes the catch for the first out of the inning. So a couple of pitches there and a quick out for Liberatore, and that'll be the first out in the bottom of the second inning. Well, so long as it's a gentleman's bet. I'm not prepared to pay out dollars and cents on that. All right, now here's the righty Bolt. It's his first at-bat tonight. Liberatore from the full wind, the pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball, nowhere close to the zone. To the righty Henry Bolt in center field tonight. It's his MLB debut, folks. 22 years old. We've seen a lot of that lately. Here's the pitch. Grounded towards third base, and it gets past the third baseman. He boots it out into left field. So Bolt will get on there with a one-out single. I have to imagine that will be ruled an error there down at third base. I don't really know how it couldn't be. As far as I am concerned, Gorman should have definitely made that play. It was a absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, routine, basically two-step hop and then throw to first base. But in the case of Gorman here, he goes sideways on the thing and it just goes skipping right past him. That was ugly defense for a professional third baseman. Now, here's the first base to him. Cutter inside, fouled it off his foot on that first pitch. And I'll bring the count to 0-1. So I have to imagine they ruled that an error because that is a play any third baseman should make in this league. for the most part. Would I take the bet, though? Yeah, sure, why the hell not? I'll take it. All you get to win is honor. But, hey, and you get credit right here with Paul D. That's more than anything. Here's the pitch. Change up and away, fouled down the first base side and out of play. And the count is quickly 0-2 to the righty. Chaim. Runner on first, 1 out. There's no score in the bottom of the second inning. It's an 0-2 count to the righty. Chaim. Liberatore, for the most part, has been reasonably sharp in the early going here in 1 1/3 inning of work. He comes set at the letters and throws on over to first. Bolt is back easily. He's basically taken a 0 lead down at first. But just a reminder that Liberatore is, yes, I will take it. I'll take it. All you get is credit and honor with me, but you'll take it. I'll take it. That's fun. Now here's the pitch. Popped on out to shallow right field. Underneath it is the second baseman who makes the catch for the second out of the inning. That one was just in on the hands there by the righty and just kind of forced out. Brought on in, hauled on in right there by Weatherholt. It was just basically a lazy little bloop of a ball. Now, runners on first, 2 out with a runner on first. There's no score in the bottom of the second inning. Here's the pitch. Strike on a curveball, inside corner at the knees to the righty. J.T. Count is 0-1. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. 25 games, a .258 average, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, a 764 OPS. The pitch. Sinker outside corner, misses the plate about thigh high. The count is 1 ball and 2 strikes to J.T. Some of these names, folks. Some of these names. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to left center field. Going back is the left fielder. He makes the catch right in front of the track for the third and final out of the inning. So, despite the runner on first, Matthew Liberatore, he gets out of this one. There is no score going to the top of the third inning. This is St. Louis Cardinal baseball on Wednesday night in Northern California. I'm Paul D., and this is a special edition of Bombers Game Mic. Mickey Moniak for a home run. Is he putting money on it? I guess that's really the question. Is he putting money on it? If you're just joining me here, going to the top of the third inning, there's no score. J.T. Ginn for the Athletics has certainly shown leaky. Liberatore has actually looked pretty solid. Let me know in the chat where you're watching from. Are you in the St. Louis area? Are you in Southern Illinois? Are you in Northern Arkansas? Let me know down there in the chat. On top of that, what do you want the line to be tonight for Liberatore? And if you are so inclined, what are your realistic hopes and dreams for the Redbirds for the remainder of the season? Realistically. No kidding. You're in Staten Island right now. Holy crap. I'm actually in southwestern Connecticut. I usually live in St. Louis, but I'm doing this on the road tonight. I'm in southwestern Connecticut right now. You know, the ones that wear all the pullovers and khaki slacks. You know the type. They all work down on Wall Street. Northern Illinois chiming in. Hey, I've lived in Northern Illinois. I spent 5 years in the north side of Chicago. Alton? That's awesome. Keep chiming in, guys. The Midwest right now seems pretty well represented in this stream. It is wonderful that you all have chose to join me here. Now we go to the top of the third inning. 0-3-0 for the Redbirds. 0-1-0 the Athletics. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Johnny Lou. You know the kind I'm talking about. I'm not wearing slacks right now. I will never do that unless there's a good reason. I'd not just wear them to the grocery store. Holy crap. All right. And we're back to the top of the order here with Weatherholt, the lefty. He got on earlier with a leadoff single, so he's 1 for 1 tonight. J.T. Ginn, he's back on the mound. He comes set from the full wind, and the first pitch to Weatherholt. Strike. Slider outside corner at the knees to the lefty hitting Weatherholt. The count is no balls and 1 strike. From the full wind is Ginn, the pitch. Down and away. A sinker out of the zone. Counts 1-1. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, from the full wind, here's the 1-1 pitch. Hit to the right side. Fielded by the second baseman on a couple of hops. Throws to first in time for the first out of the inning. So let me ask you something, Johnny Lou. I don't know if you are a Yankees fan, and I don't necessarily know you need to be one. But how do you feel about the recent passing last week of John Sterling? Him just essentially being that kind of guy that was part of the baseball soundtrack. Now, here is Ivan Herrera, the DH, hitting second on it. He's 0 for 1. Grounded into a double play earlier. Now, here's the first pitch. A ball, slider, out and away, missed the plate. The count is 1-0 to Herrera. From the full wind is Ginn, and here's the pitch. Strike, sinker, outside corner at the knees. It was almost identical to the first pitch that was called a ball, but I'm just your broadcaster, not your umpire. Both teams have both of their ABS challenges intact. Here's the 1-1. Swinging strike on a sinker down in the zone. Swung right over the top of that one, did Herrera. About an inch over it. And the count is 1-2. Nobody on, 1 out. It's a 1-2 count. No score in the top of the third inning. Ivan Herrera, the righty's at the plate. And Ginn deals. Chopped down to third base. Fielded on a couple of hops with the glove. Throws to first. And in time. It was an offline throw, but Kurtz managed to bring it in and keep his foot on the bag. And that's the second out of the inning for the Cardinals. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So do I. No question. I want to be in flip-flops. I want to be comfortable for eternity. Now, here's Eric Burleson, the first baseman, the left-handed hitter. Here's the pitch. Slider just off the plate, a little more than knee-high. The count is 0-1 to Burleson. Now, let's see if he can deliver on that bet that I took that he'll homer sometime tonight. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and past the second baseman for a base hit. So a 2-out single by Burleson. And the Cardinals have a runner on first with 2 out in the top of the third inning. Yes, it is sad. It is sad. And when, eventually, though he's obviously much younger, Howie Rose, I know he's retiring, but, when his time comes, it'll be just as sad. Those guys were very much part of my baseball soundtrack growing up in southwestern Connecticut. I now live in St. Louis with my wife, though I'm not there at the moment. I'm on my own road trip. Usually I do this on camera in my own studio, but tonight you get my lovely voice. Runner on first, 2 out. Here is Jordan Walker. Here's the pitch. Hit on up to center field. Couple steps over to his right is the center fielder. He's underneath it, and he makes the catch, does Bolt, for the third and final out of the inning. So, a 2-out single goes nowhere, quite unfortunately for the Redbirds. But we go to the bottom of the third inning. No score in Northern California. It is Wednesday night Redbird baseball. I'm Paul D., and this is a special edition of Bombers Game Mic. Yeah, speaking of slack, seriously, cheers. Yeah, no, it is sad. And there are so many people that we never actually met John Sterling. But because of how consistent a present he was for decades in our ears coming out of our radio and God knows where else, that, there's definitely something of a parasocial relationship there, I think is the term the kids are now using today. It's like he's your Yankee friend. And he was one of a kind. He cannot be replicated. Just in the same way that a Vin Scully couldn't, or an Ernie Harwell, or a Red Barber, or a Mel Allen, or Howie Rose when he hangs it up later this year. It was depressing. I was on a flight. I was actually getting ready to land at LaGuardia. This was early last week when I saw the Athletic update on my phone there about the passing of John Sterling, 87 years old. You knew that when he hung it up, he didn't have many years left. Because this is a guy who was an Iron Man of calling games in his career. And even though it was never anything obvious, there was never anything that was very clear to the public, you just kind of knew. You just kind of knew. Now, Liberatore, he's out for his third frame of work. Through 2 innings, he's only allowed a single hit. Cheers to him. Chaim Bloom apparently is in the broadcast booth at the moment for the Cardinals. I think we'd rather have his product talking than him at the moment. From the full one, the first pitch from Liberatore, a big old Uncle Charlie for a strike right down Broadway, and the count is now 0-1. And, of course, for Cardinal fans, Jack Buck and Mike Shannon. Now, here's the pitch. Hit on out there to center field, up and out of the reach of a leaping Wenderholt, and it's into center field for a leadoff single. So, Liberatore once again has his work cut out for him. Yeah, Jack Buck, Mike Shannon. I mean, those are guys that you can't. And John Buck. He's so much better than his son. I'm sorry. I can't help it. It's just... Joe Buck drives me insane. That might be a hot, unpopular take, but whatever. From the line, here's the first pitch. Hit to the right side and through for a base hit. Fielding the ball in right is Jordan Walker. He tosses it on in and is now runners on first and third and nobody out here in the bottom of the third inning. Liberatore is in all kinds of trouble right now with the runners on the corner and nobody out. A quick jolt here offensively on the part of the Athletics. 20 pitches so far for Liberatore tonight. And up for his second at-bat tonight, he's 0 for 1, the righty catcher who's at DH tonight, Shea Langoliers. Oh boy, let me think on that one. Throws over to first. Bat hit, he picks him off first base. He catches him napping down at first base. And that will turn the situation to a runner on third and 1 out. Liberatore absolutely deked the runner over there and picked him right off first base. Now, that's what I like to call a lefty pickoff move. And I grew up watching Andy Pettitte pick guys off. And he was gone too far. And Burleson just pulled it right in for a great tag on that one. No question, he was definitely out. So runner on third, 1 out. Liberatore helping his own cause with the pickoff move here. Runner on third with 1 out, no score. Here's Shea Langoliers. Here's the pitch. It is a changeup in the dirt, blocked by the catcher. Count is 1-0 to Shea Langoliers. Nothing like a great pickoff move. As far as your 15-plus outs on Liberatore tonight, I'll get to that in the between innings there. That's the big time thing I have to do. Cummings set it's Liberatore from the stretch. Here's the 1-0. Hit to the left side and fielded there by the shortstop. He brings it back to third and it's a double play. The shortstop Ginn picks it up on a line, throws it on over to Gorman at third, and the runner was leading too far off. That is a rare 6-5 double play to end the inning. So the A's squander runners on first and third and nobody out through 2 absolutely boneheaded base running mistakes, stuff that no major league runner should ever do. And the Cardinals were right on top of it, whether it's Liberatore in the pickoff at first or Ginn catching that thing on the line, tossing it over to Gorman at third for the double play on the force. So we go to the top of the 4th inning. There's no score out in Northern California. I'm Paul D., and this is a special edition of Bombers Game Mike. So, will he make 15? Well, he's only 3 outs away from doing it, so I have to imagine the answer is probably yes. I have to imagine the answer is probably yes. Well, I would imagine he'd come back to bat. As far as I know, he hasn't been substituted in this game. I could be wrong, but I don't see anything to that effect. I mean, it's got to be probably another couple innings before he does. And at the moment, Ginn, has been effective enough, I think is the diplomatic thing to say. Though, I'm in no position to have to answer diplomatically. So when the time comes, when less diplomatic tact is appropriate. You'll get it right here from Paul D, no question. So we're awaiting the top of the fourth inning. No score. Out in Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, California. Boy, do the A's players hate playing there. Luis Severino can't shut up about it, even though he's getting paid very handsomely to be there. I mean, even the numbers are reflective in his eyes, and has been actually kind of true for a lot of the A's. It's basically the away that's home. Here's the first pitch. Hit on out to right field, and it drops in for a base hit. So a leadoff single here by Gorman. And the Cardinals have a runner on first with nobody out here in the top of the fourth inning, correcting that score bug. Usually I have that thing controlled with a Stream Deck, but I'm not at home, so I'm doing it with my phone. Little spotty. Now here's the six-hitter. When the shortstop turned that incredible double play that ended the inning. He's 1 for 1. It's a righty-righty matchup. We got a runner on first and nobody out for the St. Louis Cardinals. Ginn is from the stretch. Here's the first pitch. Strike, slider on the outer third, about thigh high. And the count is 0-1 to the shortstop win. 44 pitches so far in 3+ innings of work for Ginn. He comes set at the letters. Now here's the pitch. Hit back and out of play. And the count is 0-2 to the righty win. Yes, of course he'll come back up. He'll probably come back up in the 5th inning, maybe the 6th. But he's still out there, man. He'll come back around. It's early. And they need him right now. Setting up on the outside corner is the catcher. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and through the hole on the right side for a base hit. And the right fielder boots it, and the runner will go and move down to second. Advancing to second on the bumble is Win. So it is a no-out double with runners at second and third for the Cardinals here in the top of the 4th inning. He just got on top of that thing, went the other way. He found the big hole on the right side. The right fielder out there just booted the damn thing. And then he came sliding head first, did Win into second. Runners on second and third, nobody out. It is the top of the 4th inning. The Cardinals are finally truly threatening here. Now, here's a lefty Church. He's 0 for 1 tonight. From the stretch is Ginn. He sets at the letters. Here's the first pitch to Church. Strike, slider, outer third of the plate, knee high. The count is 0-1. Ginn's got himself in all kinds of trouble here at the moment. He comes set at the letters. The pitch. Swinging strike on a changeup down and away to the lefty Church. He swung right over the top of that one. The count is 0-2. That was a major league changeup to a left-handed hitter. 100%. 100%. One of the best pitches he's thrown tonight. It's an 0-2 count here to Church. Righty-lefty matchup with Ginn on the mound from the stretch. He deals. Foul down the third base side and out of play. That was a 4-seam fastball. Up and away at 95 miles per hour, according to... Yeah, absolutely. Come on back. Great to have you back. Thank you so much for all your participation tonight. I always love getting the back and forth from the chat. And anybody who is watching right now, I know there are quite a few of you. Be sure to subscribe and like. I'm going to call more Cardinal games. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Hit on out to left center field, and it is in for a base hit over the jump of the shortstop. Coming home is the runner. He will score. And the Cardinals are finally on the board. With a 1-0 lead. And now that leaves runners on first and third. And nobody out. 1-0 Redbirds on that RBI single. They're going for more. Now here's the catcher. Bagayas. Sack bunt earlier tonight. 205, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 27 games this season. Runners on first and third. And nobody out. Here's the first pitch. Hit down the third base side and out of play. That absolutely sawed off Bagayas' bat right there at the handle. The count is 0-1. The only times I've seen bats quite get demolished in that way consistently has been, watching the entire career of now retired Mariano Rivera. I could never see a broken bat like that without thinking of the patron saint of the cut fastball. It's an 0-1 count to the catcher, Bagayas. Buanaman. Buanaman. 86-91. That's hard to say. Here's the pitch. Foul back, sinker in on the hands and out of play. The count is 0-2. Yeah. Sometimes it's not easy pronouncing everybody's username here on YouTube. But I really appreciate you chiming in. That's what the fun is here. It's an 0-2 count to the righter, Pagayas. First and third, nobody out. Already one in this inning for the Redbirds. It is an 0-2 count. It's a righty-righty matchup. Holding is Ginn. And here's the pitch. Strike three, looking. Down goes Pagayas on that slider on the inner third, about thigh high. And that'll be the first out of the inning. I don't know what he was looking at there, but he got caught in the observatory. I understand that it's not exactly professional hitting when I say this, but I feel like every hitter that goes down looking should at least be fined $5,000 or $10,000 for every offense. But you know what? That's why I'm not your hitting coach, and that's why I'm your broadcaster. If only I had that ability. I wonder how I would use it. Well, I'm just musing here. So runners on first and third with one out here in the top of the fourth inning. Already one in so far for the Cardinals. And we wait and wait. 53 pitches so far for Ginn. In this, I think there is a bit of a powwow out in the mound. I'm sure Blue behind home plate wants to speed this up. Time of game, folks. Now, here's the 9-hitter. Good old Scott the second. A righty-lefty matchup. Runners lead off first and third with one out. Coming set is Ginn, and here's the first pitch. Throwing down to third, trying to make the pickoff throw. Back right there is Wynn. Count is 1-0. It's going to be that kind of night, folks. It's going to be that kind of night. This seems like it could turn into a chippy game. But the Cardinals have shown something of propensity for chippy games. Sign of a good, healthy team. It's a 1-0 count to Scott the second. Here's the pitch. Foul down the third base side and out of play. Count is 1-1. Through 39 games, a 182 average, 1 home run, 5 RBIs. Manning center field tonight, a 480 OPS. Not exactly standout numbers, but he looks to change that around here. It's a 1-1 count. It's a righty-lefty matchup with the righty Ginn on the mound, lefty batting Scott the second. Here's the pitch. He shows bunt. He pulls back, throwing back down to third, and they have the Wynn in a pickle. They are throwing back and forth, and he is picked off. He is picked off in a pickle between third and home. And Wynn is absolutely made a boneheaded play down there at third. Advancing down to second is the runner from first. But that was an absolutely messy play there. An absolutely messy play. One that can very easily take the Cards out of this inning altogether. He was leaning out too far. The catcher, he threw down earlier in this at-bat, and he did it again. And there is a challenge on the part of the Athletics. And it is a called strike here. So the call is overturned, and they retain their ABS challenge, and that will bring the count to 1 ball and 2 strikes, as opposed to 2 balls and 1 strike to the lefty Scott. Runner on second, 2 out, 1 in so far for the Redbirds in the top of the fourth inning. They lead 1-0. 2 out, some bad base running there. Brilliant as Wynn has been tonight, that is absolutely unacceptable when you're 90 feet away. There's just no point in it. It's a 1-2 count. Stepping off is Ginn, so we get to wait a little longer for the 1-2. Something you notice about Ginn is that when he gets in trouble, like many pitchers, he slows down, even in the face of the pitch clock. It's kind of annoying. He looks in for the sign. He comes set at the stretch. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Sinker outside, thigh high, and basically over the righty batter's box. Count evens out at 2 balls and 2 strikes to Scott. He would definitely like to be driving this fellow in right now. down at second. Comes set is Ginn. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Outside a changeup. Missed the plate. About knee high. Once again, basically over the righty's batter's box. And the count is full 3-2. So with the count 3-2 and 2 outs, the runner at second is going to be just going more or less on contact, if not first movement altogether. Now here's the 3-2. Called strike 3, sinker inside corner thigh high. Down goes looking is Scott, caught in the observatory for the third out of the inning. So the Cardinals failed to capitalize any further on that one run they managed to put together, especially due to some bad base running there by Wynn. All the same, we go to the bottom of the fourth inning. It's 1-0 Redbirds. This is Wednesday night West Coast baseball. I'm your broadcaster, Paul D., and I'd like to thank you for joining me tonight. The Redbirds are not usually my primary gig, but I'm in the area, and I have a deep affection for them. So if you're interested, definitely subscribe and hit the bell, hit a like, all those cool things. It definitely helps the channel. I'll be doing more of these Redbird games in the future. And for all intents and purposes, you are watching, listening, and hopefully enjoying this special edition of Bombers Game Mic. Yeah, I really appreciate all of you who have made yourselves known down in the chat. And just like earlier, I know the Midwest right now is very well represented. We've seen people from Oklahoma, Illinois, obviously Missouri, you name it. Let me know where you're listening from. Did you grow up a Cards fan in your area? These are things I like to know. Granted, right now I am on the road. I don't usually do an audio-only broadcast. Usually at home out in St. Charles, so I'm just, Missouri River is usually only about a quarter mile behind my shoulder when I'm at home in my home studio. I'm actually usually on camera, but when you're on the road, visuals get difficult. Lighting, quality of camera, things like that. So we're doing it the old-fashioned way. We are doing it radio play-by-play style. And I will help paint the picture as best I can for all of you going forward tonight. And now going to the bottom of the fourth inning. And Liberatore, he's coming out for his fourth frame of work tonight. He's let up 3 hits. Now here's the first pitch. Breaking ball strike, outside corner at the knees to the left-handed hitter. Count is 0-1. Now here's the pitch. Hit to the second baseman, Wenderholt. He fields and throws to first in time for the first out of the inning. My grandpa liked all sorts of birds. He'd point at the blue jay and tell me it was a blue jay. I pointed at the cardinal and said, red jay. I was 5. There's nothing like those very special memories that we have with our grandparents. Now, here's the right fielder, Colby Thomas. He's 0 for 1 tonight with a flyout. I'll return to this in a moment. Here's the first pitch. Four-seam fastball up and away out of the zone to the righty Thomas. The count's 1-0. I've lost both of my grandparents in recent years, and I'm lucky that I got to know them so well. And I'm glad you got to spend time with yours. Now, here's the pitch. A big old Uncle Charlie outside and up and away. The count is 2-0 to the righty Thomas. In fact, they brought me to my first Yankees game, but it wasn't at Yankee Stadium. It was down against the Texas Rangers. Here's the pitch. Strike, sinker inside corner at the knees. Count is 2-1. At the old ballpark at Arlington, retired after only 30 years because they decided not to put a roof on that thing, despite the Texas Heat being the 11th circle of hell. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Up and in, a four-seam fastball out of the zone. 96 miles per hour from Liberatore. Count is 3-1. 7 pitches in the first, 10 in the second, 5 in the third, and 6 so far in the fourth for the lefty Liberatore. Nobody on, 1 out here in the bottom of the fourth inning. It's 1-0 Redbirds. It's a 3-1 count. Now here's the pitch. Swinging strike, swung right through a sinker up and in. And though it worked, I don't think Liberatore was necessarily hoping for it to land where it did. He just got particularly fortunate there. Coming set for the 3-2. Here's the pitch. And strike 3 swinging on the breaking ball, down and in. Down he goes for the second out of the inning. And that one looked like It was either the curveball or a really, really hard breaking slider down and in there for the second out of the inning. Just swung right over the top of that thing. Had no choice. Had no chance. Now, here's the righty rooker, and here's the pitch. Slider down and in to the righty rooker. Counts 1-0. Liberatore, he's hanging in there so far tonight for the Redbirds, helping to get a little bit of distance here. He's from the full wind, lefty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Strike, curveball on the outer third, about thigh high, and that evens out the count at 1-1. Nobody on, 2 out, bottom of the fourth inning, 1-0 Redbirds. It's a 1-1 count to the righty rooker. Here's the pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball, outer third at the knees, and the count is now 1-2. So Liberatore here is 1 strike away from putting the A's down in order. And he winds, and here's the 1-2. Slider down and in, out of the zone. That's what he got the strikeout on in the previous at-bat. Rooker here is not giving hack. Oh, you're very welcome, Derek White. You are very welcome. I'm very happy to do this broadcast, and I'm very happy that you're joining me for it. Now, here's a 2-2. Hit on out there to left field, and the left fielder will play it on a hop. So a 2-out single there for Rooker. And the A's have a little 2-out life in them here in the bottom of the fourth inning. For the most part, Liberatore has been solid. He hasn't been great. He's been pretty good. Not great. He's been good enough, I think it's fair to say. And right now, you just need quality distance from him. You know, let's not overtax the bullpen here on the road if it can be avoided. Coming set is Liberatore, the first pitch of the righty bolt. Swinging strike, four-seam fastball out and over the plate at 96 miles per hour. Liberatore can dial it up when he wants to, though nowadays 96 miles per hour seems slow given some of the hurlers we have out there now. High 90s and triple digits used to kind of be a special thing 20 or even 10 years ago. Now here's the 0-1 pitch. Uncle Charlie up and away, 80 miles per hour, nowhere close to the zone, to the righty bolt. The count is 1-1. Runner on first, 2 out in the bottom of the fourth inning. It's 1-0 Redbirds. Liberatore very clean now through 3 2/3. He's from the stretch and he's looking in. See if he can get his pitch. And he steps off because he definitely has been shaking off the catcher, Pagayas, the whole time. And he is back on the bump. He sets about middle of the rubber. Now here's the 1-1. Swinging strike on a changeup up and away at 91 miles per hour. Hacked right through that thing. Did bolt, swung right underneath it. And now the count is 1-2 strikes. Liberatore is 1 strike away from getting out of this thing. And of course, Bolt, 1-for-1 tonight. Manning center field. He's from the stretches, Liberatore. He has his sign, and I know they use pitch comp. Now here's the 1-1 pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball. Pagayas saved that thing from going all the way to the backstop. Not exactly Yachty-level defense, but impressive enough. He certainly saved the rear end of Liberatore there for a runner going down to second. So it's a 2-2 count to Bolt. And here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit to the left side. Fielded there on 2 hops by Gorman. He throws to first, and he throws it away. And he is safe at first base. And now there are runners on first and second and 2 out due to the throwing error on the part of Gorman. I know Gorman, for some fans right now, is definitely a dirty word. He has not had a good night defensively. Burleson was barely able to contain the throw over to first. Had he not, the runners would be on second and third, if not worse. Runners on first and second, 2 out here. Here's the six-hitter Hyam. Here's the pitch. Strike. Uncle Charlie outside corner at the knees to the righty Hyam. The count is 0-1. Runners on first and second, 2 out. Bottom of the fourth inning, 1-0 Redbirds. Coming set from the stretches, Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Changeup out and away, nowhere near the zone, floats over the lefty batter's box. And the count is 1-1. Grew up a Cardinals fan here in Western Kentucky. No kidding. Now here's the pitch from Liberatore. Up and away, four-seam fastball, 95 miles per hour, nowhere close to the zone. And he falls behind in the count, 2-1. Kentucky. That is outstanding. How long ago did you play Little League? What phase of the Oakland A's did you become a fan? Here's the pitch. Chop foul behind the plate and out of play, and that'll even out the count at 2-2. Because I don't know your age, it could be the Kansas City A's. It could be the Smash Brother A's. It could be the Big Three A's. I'm curious which one that you really, really gravitated to. It's a 2-2 count to the righty Hyam. Coming set is Liberatore. Now here's the 2-2. Chop foul and out in front of the visitors' dugout, and we get to do 2-2 all over again. It's amazing the kind of stuff we really gravitate to. Jonah Hyam, the catcher, he's 0 for 1 with a pop-out tonight. He's on the interstate for 2026. Coming set at the belt is Liberatore. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swinging strike 3. Down goes Hyam for the third and final out of the inning. So the A's, they strand 2 after some boneheaded defense over there by Gorman. More of the same from him at the moment. We go to the top of the 5th inning. It is 1-0 Redbirds out in Northern California at Sutter Health Park. And I'm Paul D., and I thank you so much for joining me. I hope you continue to join me and enjoy this broadcast here tonight with me. By all means, please leave a like, and if you're interested, certainly subscribe with the notification bell so you know when it's happening. I mostly call Yankee games. Don't hold it against me. That's where I first started. But the woman that I fell in love with and has become my wife for almost 20 years now is from the St. Louis area, grew up a Cardinals fan, and when we met many years ago, it was actually something of a perfect pairing because other than at that point, a couple of interleague matchups, both in 2002 and 2005, that had been all the Yankees and the Cardinals had played each other since a World Series in the 1960s, which of course was taken by the Redbirds. And at that point in time, I had a lot of admiration for that Cardinal team. Albert, Yachty, Wainwright. Scotty Rowland was actually on the team when I really first got into that one. You know the players, you know the guys. And I saw him win it all in 2006, slaying the Mets, which I consider no small favor as someone who grew up and was raised in the New York City area as a Yankee fan. And then, of course, she and I had an amazing journey with the 2011 Redbirds. Okay, so about 30 years ago when I played Little League. I always liked Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire. You know what? They put on a spectacle. There's no question about it. I mean, it's well-earned. I know all the stuff that goes on around it. We don't need to over-litigate that at this point. I think we've been beaten over the head by it. But all the same, it was an impressive show. I can't deny that part. Now, Ginn's out for his 5th inning of work. Now, here's the pitch to Weatherholt. A slider on the outside corner just off the plate. The count is 1-0. Weatherholt, he's 1 for 2 tonight. 245, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. From the full wind is Ginn. Here's the 1-0. Cutter inside, off the plate, about belt high. And the count advances to 2-0. I don't like listening to the Ricky Horton. Don't blame you. Here's the 1-2. Sinker down and in on the dirt to the lefty Weatherholt. And that'll bring the count to 3-0. Will he go to statue mode in 3-0? Is he just going to let Ginn back into this at-bat? Well, we shall see. From the full wind is Ginn, and he deals. Strike, sinker outside corner just above the knees. The count is 3-1 to the lefty second baseman for St. Louis. Well, hey, if I'm your desired alternative from an actual broadcaster, you have made my day. Here's the 3-1 pitch. Strike, inside corner, right below the belt, a four-seam fastball on that one, and that brings the count full to 3-2. 64 pitches so far for Ginn and 4+ innings of work here. He's from the full wind. Now here's the 3-2 pitch. Hit on out to left field, giving chase as the left fielder. He goes about 5 steps over to his right. He makes the catch, about 3 steps in front of the warning track for the first out of the inning. So Weatherholt flies on out there. You can score that 7 in your scorecard for you wonderful baseball nerds in the audience. And I thank you for joining me in particular. And there's one out in the top of the 5th inning. It is 1-0 Redbirds in the top of the 5th. Now here is Herrera, The big open stance from Herrera. He's at DH tonight. Here's the first pitch. Strike, slider, outer third of the plate, thigh high, and the count is 0-1. 0 for 2, grounded into a double play and a ground out. So the sinker has been working well on Ivan Herrera at the moment from Ginn. Now here's the 0-1 pitch. Slider outside, about thigh high, missed the plate easily almost by a foot. The count is 1-1 with one out here in the top of the fifth inning. From the full wind is Ginn. He's moving quick. Here's the 1-1. Chopped down the third base side now to play. And the count is now 1-2 to Ivan Herrera. And if you're just joining me here, it's 1-0 Redbirds. They put one across back in the top of the fourth inning, but they haven't really been able to get much else across, despite multiple opportunities with runners in scoring position. Wynn getting caught up in that pickle off the pickoff move was not great. It's a righty-righty matchup. Wynn again from the full wind. Here's the pitch. Change up down and in and out of the zone to the righty Herrera, and that'll even out the count at 2-2. Every once in a while, Ginn will whip off one of those. Looks like circle changes if I'm giving it my best eye. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit down the first base side now to play. The count remains 2-2 to Herrera. When his sinker is working, there is both a lot of vertical action and a lot of horizontal action. Basically where we'll see that horizontal break by over a foot on the outside corner to righties. Now here's the 0-2 pitch. Excuse me, 2-2 pitch. It's out to right field, giving chase at the right field. It falls in, and the right fielder fields it on a hop. So a one-out single here for Herrera. And the Cardinals have a runner on first with one out. Sometimes when you're trying to get all the action in and all the commentary when you're doing it solo, the game can get away from you temporarily. So these are the things I've learned. Having a bit of humility, I like to think. So, and leading off first, of course, is Herrera. Here's Burleson for his next at-bat. Now here's the pitch. Up and in a cutter to the lefty Burleson, nowhere near the zone. The count's 1-0. So, yeah, Burleson, he's got an at-bat. And largely what I predicted it, about the fifth inning. If you're just joining me here, let me know where you're watching and listening from. Here's the 1-0 to Burleson. Strike, sinker, outside corner, about thigh high to the big lefty hitting first baseman. He's 2 for 2 tonight. The count is 1-1 with a runner on first and one out. 1-0 Redbirds out in Northern California. Now here's the pitch. Hit behind the plate and out of play. A slider, 86 miles per hour in on the hands. The count is 1-2 to Burleson, who's putting himself together at night. Ginn, for the most part, has bent, but he has not broken yet. We shall see, folks. We shall see. Ginn is from the stretch with the runner on first. Now here's the 1-2 pitch. Chop foul down the first base side now to play. And the count remains 0-1 ball, 2 strikes. Getting a good long at-bat in there is Burleson. Herrera, he leads off first after his one-out single. Ginn looks in from the stretch. He deals. Popped on up behind the plate, given chase over is the third baseman in front of the tarp, and it is about a dozen rows deep. So we get to go back and do 1-2 all over again. 76 pitches so far for Ginn. I don't think he might, if he gets out of this, he might have one more frame. I don't know how much the A's are going to choose to protect him. We shall see. But that's just kind of the way of baseball nowadays. You don't see guys even getting to 100 pitches even that much. Most major leaguers are pulled after being in the high 80s. Now, here's the 1-2. Outside a sinker. Right over the righty batter's box, about thigh high. That evens out the count at 2-2. And even still, so many of these guys, they go down with a UCL tear, and they have to spend, the next 10 to 18 months rehabbing from Tommy John. It's just weird. Coming set is Ginn from the stretch. Here's the 2-2. Fisted on back. It was a four-seam fastball well up and in on the hands of Burleson. He fights it off and behind the plate. He stays alive. 2 balls and 2 strikes. I want to thank you all for joining me here tonight. It has been wonderful to have such a showing for this first special edition of the Redbirds Bombers game, Mike. It's a 2-2 count, runner on first, 2 out. Throwing over to first is Ginn. Back easily is Herrera with the head first slide. This one right here is a duel between Burleson and Ginn. Who's going to come out on top? I'm not taking any bets. If I knew in advance, I would definitely go to Poly Market. Coming set is Ginn, the 2-2 pitch. Hit on out down the right field line, giving chase is the right fielder, and he makes the catch out in the corner at the warning track. An amazing play there by the right fielder. He catches it over his shoulder. Ivan Herrera has to retreat all the way back to first on that, and that's the second out of the inning. Off the bat, Burleson wasn't even sure that it was going to stay in play and not just go into the grassy stands there. But right there, no question, Thomas there, the right fielder, he hauled it in for an absolutely first-class catch out there for the second out of the inning. Cardinals fans, we appreciate good baseball. Sometimes we just hope it's not at our own expense. Here's Jordan Walker. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Here's the first pitch. Pop straight up in the infield. Who's going to call for it? Going back is the shortstop. He makes the catch in shallow left center for the third and final out of the inning. So 1 pitch, 1 out there for Jordan Walker. And that will retire the Redbirds in the top of the 5th inning. We go to the bottom of the 5th. It's 1-0 Redbirds out in Sutter Health Park, the AAA home of the, Oakland, Sacramento, California, West Coast, Pacific Time Zone, Athletics. And I'm Paul D., and you are watching, listening, and hopefully enjoying to this special St. Louis Cardinals edition of the Bombers game, Mike. When does he get another chance? I'm going to go aggressive on this. I'm going to say the 6th. It's hopeful thinking on my part, my friend, Johnny Lou. I understand that completely. But I feel like going bold right now. You know, go bold or go home, right? And I'd like to thank you all for joining me here so far tonight. Let me know if you're a Cardinals fan. Let me know if you're an A's fan, for that matter. Let me know where you're watching from. Where did you begin your fandom? Oh, you think he's done? I mean, that would be a very sad showing on the part of the Cardinals. No question. If indeed that ends up being the case. But I am not your Nostradamus. I am your live streaming broadcaster on YouTube. You know what they say, prophecy is not a profitable profession. Well, certainly not in this day and age, to be sure. But I guess it depends on how you're doing it and what you're trying to do it about. There are plenty of charlatans out there who have had some success. Now, here's first pitch from Liberatore. Up and away, four-seam fastball out of the zone. To the righty, J.T. Count is 1-0. Grandpa was a Cubs fan. Okay. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Uncle Charlie on the outside corner at the knees for a strike, and that brings the count to 1-1. Liberatore just has a wicked curveball. It is so cool to watch this in real time. I see a lot of the highlights. I catch some of the games, but this is awesome. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Uncle Charlie strike. Hacked right on over that did the righty J.T. And the count is now 1-2 strikes. Bottom of the 5th inning. 1-0 Redbirds. Nobody on, nobody out. The lefty Liberatore out for his 5th frame of work. He has the righty J.T. in the hole, 1-2. Now here's the pitch. Popped on up to shallow right field. Coming underneath it is the second baseman, Winterhall, and he makes the catch over the shoulder for the first out of the inning in shallow right field. Very impressive pickup there of that absolutely bleeding fly ball. It was almost could be described as a Texas leaguer, though I know that is a phrase that has gone to the wayside in baseball. I'm still using it here on Game Mike. You'll always get it from me. So 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning, 1-0. So Grandpa was a Cubs fan. My brother played Little League for the Cubs. I married a girl, and her dad likes the Cubs. Here's the pitch. Strike. Uncle Charlie outside corner at the knees to the righty Hernandez, and the count is 0-1 from Liberatore. I think I just have to like the Cubs. Well, maybe. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Up and away, a sinker out of the zone. Count is 1-1. I spent 5 years in the north side of Chicago, in Rogers Park. I graduated from Loyola Chicago, and when I first got there, it was the first time that I had seen Wrigley Field in person. I'll get back to this in a moment. From the full wind is Liberatore, the 1-1 pitch. Swinging strike on the curveball, down and in, swung right over the top of that Uncle Charlie, and the count is now 1-2 to Hernandez. So he's definitely making that curveball count for something here in the second and third time around of the A's order. It's impressive to watch. He's from the full wind. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Here's the 1-2 pitch. And he managed to foul off the exact same pitch he missed in the previous pitch right off his foot. I got to tell you, I've done that before. It's not fun. So, yeah, I've spent plenty of time on the north side of Chicago. First time I saw Wrigley Field, passing it on the red line, it was amazing as a baseball fan. I'll tell you in a minute where things kind of turned on that one, to say the least. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Four-seam fastball upstairs. Cheddar nowhere close to the zone. Count is 2-2. Well, the first thing I would say is this. Yeah, Wrigley was better with the bullpens actually in and not tucked under the stands. Completely agreed on that one. And the scoreboards out there in the outfield were a dick move in terms of the Wrigley rooftops. I was lucky for once to be able to watch a game from the top of the firehouse out there and left. Now, here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit on up the middle. Coming in is the center fielder who plays it on a hop. So a one-out single for Hernandez, and the A's are cooking with one out here in the bottom of the fifth inning. But where it changed was this. One was meeting my wife, of course. The Cardinal thing just kind of ended up washing over me. The other thing was coming back from classes I had downtown on a Friday afternoon. I grew up with baseball on Fridays that happened at night. So occasionally I would forget that the Cubs have day games. So I'm coming back from a long day. Now here's the first pitch. Slider up and away out of the zone. The count is 1-0 to Stefanik. 1-for-1 with a single tonight. I would forget that would happen after a long day of class and some work. And then all of a sudden you get to the Addison stop on the red line. And oh my God, here's the pitch. Up and away, a cutter. That thing almost got away there. Luckily, the catcher was able to haul that thing back in, or most certainly, the A's would have a runner in scoring position at the moment. The count's 2-0. And then come flooding in are all these drunk Cubs fans. They're all having fun. They're loud. They might have won. They might have not. Remember, this is the late 2000s, early 2010s. And there's nothing like getting T-boned by that. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Hit behind the plate and out of play on a sinker. 96 miles per hour from Liberatore. Counts 2-1 to the righty Stefanik. Runner on first with one out. It's 1-0 Redbirds in the bottom of the fifth inning. It's a 2-1 count to the righty Stefanik. That definitely colors my experience with the Cubs. Throwing over to first is Liberatore, easily back as Hernandez. He was taking no lead at all. Count remains 2-1. So when you get T-boned by that after a long day on the red line at about, 3 or 4 in the afternoon at the right time of year, they were back-to-back, belly-to-belly, and very inebriated. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to right field. Play on a hop is Walker, so that'll bring the runners to first and second with one out here for the Athletics. There was no play to be had there by Walker. He had to get it on the hop there. And the pitch itself looked to be a changeup out and away. It was about belt high and then on the outer third. There is absolutely no question why Stefanik was able to just go serve that thing the other way. That is not what Liberatore was looking to do. And now there's a big old powwow on the mound for the Redbirds. The entire infield is in it. There is no pitching coach, just to be clear. And now here comes the DH tonight, Shea Langoliers, who usually catches from one of the highly regarded catchers in the American League. He is really something excellent. If you're just joining me here, it's 1-0 Redbirds. Runners on first and second with one out. It's the bottom of the fifth inning. This is some of the most life we've seen offensively from the A's tonight. Shea Langoliers, he's 0 for 2 with a line out and lined into a double play. He's hitting .335 this year with 12 home runs. Here's the pitch. Curveball down and in to the righty. Langoliers. The count is 1-0. That was the 61st pitch so far by Liberatore, who's been really quite economical. To his credit. He comes set, the 1-0 pitch. Hit down the third base side and out of play, and the count is 1-1. Just got a little too out in front on that one, did Langoliers on the pitch up and in. And he just kind of pulled it. Couldn't keep it fair. So it's a 1-1 count to the A's DH tonight. At the stretch is the lefty Liberatore. Listening from Las Vegas. Grew up in Missouri. Listening to the Cardinals on the radio. Cheers to that. The Cardinals on the radio has been a magical experience many years. Now here's the 1-1. Swinging strike on the curveball down and into the righty Langoliers. And the count is now 1-2. Hey, talk to Liberatore about the A's crossing home plate. He's the one, that's within his providence. And Shea Langoliers. We shall see. Runners on first and second, one out. It's a 1-2 count in the bottom of the fifth inning. 1-0 Redbirds, a lefty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Fastball up and away, 94 miles per hour. Evens the count at 2-2. And if you're just joining me here, all I can ask is to leave a like. It really helps this small, young channel here. And subscribe. I'm going to do more Cardinals games. Coming set at the stretch is Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball. Pageas just has absolutely saved that thing 3 or 4 times tonight on what is almost exactly the same pitch. Had he not been able to haul it in, the runners would be advancing 90 feet easily. So it's a full count to Shea Langoliers, 1 out, runner on first and second. Here's the pitch. Down in the dirt, ball 4 on a curveball. So it loads the bases here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Liberatore is in all kinds of trouble with only 1 out. This is the crunch time for him. Now here comes the 2-hitter. And here comes a visit on the mound. 66 pitches so far by Liberatore. All getting into a powwow out there on the mound. And it is a pitching coach visit. Probably just trying to slow him down, refocus him, break up the poor rhythm. You know, standard pitching coach stuff. Though he doesn't really effectively cover his mouth that much, interestingly enough. Of course, Liberatore does. You know, that's standard operating procedure as we go along. Bases loaded, 1 out. The lefty Kurtz is up to bat. He's 0 for 2 tonight. The pond is full of ducks. Hernandez at third, Stefanik at second. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball down and away out of the zone to the lefty Kurtz. And the count is 1-0. Anytime I hear Kurtz, I think Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. Fight me. Now, here's the 1-0 pitch. Swinging strike on a slider down and away. Swung right over the top of that one, did Kurtz. The count is 1-1. It's a 1-1 count. Bases loaded. And he deals. Fouled right on off the foot there of Kurtz on the sinker down and in. And the count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes to Colonel Kurtz. Can't leave that one alone. Can't leave it alone. But he is uncomfortable. That thing clipped him big time in the ankle or the foot. Obviously, that is very unpleasant. Oh, it got him on the back heel of his right foot. Oh, that's nasty. There's basically no protection there. It's only his shoe. But he's a professional. He'll walk it off. Bases loaded, 1 out in the bottom of the fifth inning. It's 1-0 Redbirds. It's a 1-2 count to the lefty Kurtz. This is a lefty-lefty matchup. Liberatore is ahead in the count, 1-2. And with the bases loaded, he goes to the full wind, which you see every now and again. And here's the 1-2 pitch. In the dirt, a slider down and away. Nowhere close to the zone. The count is 2 balls, 2 strikes to Colonel Kurtz, who, as I mentioned earlier, is 0 for 2 tonight. And it's interesting that Liberatore chooses going to the full wind with the bases loaded. That's something you'll see occasionally, though not as often as you think. Now, here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit on down the third base side and out of play. Slices well left of the left field foul pole into some porch area with refreshments and white Christmas lights strung up all over the place. The count is 2-2. Counts 2-2, 1 out, bases loaded, bottom of the 5th. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit on out to left center field. Going back is the center fielder in front of the track, and he leaps. And it is a grand slam by Kurtz going to left center field, and that will give the Athletics the 4-1 lead. Oh boy, that thing just got over the wall, but it definitely got over the wall. It is a 4-1 lead for the Athletics here in the bottom of the 5th inning. He just went the other way, or as the kids might say nowadays, Oppo Taco, and that will give the A's the 4-1 lead. Liberatore had been doing so well through the first 4 frames. He has definitely been exposed here by the Athletic bats in the bottom of the 5th. Definitely a tough break here for the Redbirds. Now, here's the first pitch of the righty, Thomas. Four-seam fastball up and away and out of the zone from Liberatore. The count is 1-0. 73rd pitch tonight for Liberatore. Nobody on, 1 out, bottom of the 5th inning. 4-1 Athletics. Here's the pitch. Head on out there to right center field. Going after it is Walker, and he has to play it off the base of the wall, and he throws it on into second, and it is a sliding double here with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th inning. Yeah, it's Liberatore is running out of gas, and he is running out of gas fast. The righty Thomas just went the other way. It hit the base of the wall. And in fairness, Jordan Walker played it very well off the carom, tossing it in to second base, but there was really no play. Runner on second, 1 out. Here's the righty Rooker. He's 1 for 2 tonight. And here's the pitch. Swinging strike, slider down and in. Swung over the top of that one, did Rooker. The count is 0-1. That's a lefty-righty matchup. Rooker, 1 for 2 with a single tonight. He's hitting .191 on the year through 25 games, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. Now, here's the 0-1 pitch. Chop foul down the third base side and out of play. And the count is now 0-2. So, definitely some unfortunate turn of events here. We'll see. We'll see if he gets to that 15th out, won't we? Thank you for reminding me about that. All right, Thomas is down. He's taking his lead off second. The righty Rooker's at the plate. It's an 0-2 count. Liberatore is from the stretch. And he looks back towards second. So we get to do this all over again. Thomas was not going anywhere. And Liberatore gets back on the bump and looks on in. Coming set right at the Birds. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Swinging strike 3, hacked right through that curveball for the second out of the inning. So the Uncle Charlie here getting some effectiveness on the strikeout. Unfortunately, right now, the Redbirds are down 4-1 following that grand slam from Kurtz. Going the other way. It was quite impressive. Runner on second, 2 out. Here's the first pitch to the righty Bolt. Strike, curveball, inside corner at the knees to the righty Bolt. Count is 0-1. Thing came in at about high 70s in terms of velocity. Coming set at the Birds is Liberatore. Lefty-righty matchup. Here's the 0-1. Just missed down and away with the changeup. I am surprised there's not an ABS challenge on that. But the count, it will go to 1-1. Pagayas sees no reason to do it, even though they both have their ABS challenges. Here's the pitch. Down and in on a slider. It was off the plate and below the knees. Blue behind the plate was not impressed. Henry Bolt, 2 for 2 with a pair of singles tonight. He's manning center field for the Athletics. Coming set at the Birds is Liberatore. Here's the 2-1. Swinging strike on a cutter up and in 90 miles per hour. And that'll even out the count at 2-2. So Liberatore is 1 strike away from ending this less than optimal inning for the Redbirds. It actually was not great. Giving up that granny, oh boy. Coming set is Liberatore at the Birds. Now here's the pitch. Check swing. Did he go around? No, says Blue down the first baseline. He was able to check himself on that Uncle Charlie down and away, and that will bring the count full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Runner on second in the bottom of the 5th inning. 4-0 A's. Coming set is Liberatore. Now here's the 3-2 pitch. Hit on down the first base side and out of play. It was a slider on the outer third about thigh high. And the count remains full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. It's definitely been the longest inning, my friend. You got that right. You got that right. This is why we devised alcohol. Now, here's the 3-2 pitch. Check swing on the 5th pitch up and in. Did he go around? No, says Blue down the first baseline. So, he was able to check his swing, and now the A's have runners on first and second and 2 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. 84 pitches at this point for Liberatore. Got some right-handed action out in the bullpen. The right-hander, Matt Svanson. Very Nordic. Possibly Swedish. We shall see. Here's the righty Hyam against the lefty Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Foul down the first base side and out of play. That was on a sinker in the outer half of the plate about thigh high. The count is 0-1. Svensson. That has to be Swedish. That has to be Swedish. Just calling it. Not that that's a hard call, but that's generally what I expect. Coming set. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Up and in. Throwing down to first for the pick, and he is safe. The runner just gets back, does Bolt on that one. He went a little too far. It was indeed a ball, however. The count is 1-1. Coming set is Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Slider down and in. Had the high at the knees, was off the plate. The count is 2 balls and 1 strike to the righty Hyam, who's 0 for 2 tonight. He comes set at the Birds. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Foul back and behind the plate on the 4-seam fastball up and away at 94 miles per hour. And the count is 2-2. So Liberatore once again is 1 strike away from ending this nightmare bottom of the 5th for the Redbirds. All of Cardinal Nation is hoping to will him to that feat. He looks in for the sign, and he is looking drained. He's at 88 pitches at the moment. He comes set at the Birds. Now here's the 2-2. Just inside, and there is an ABS challenge there by the catcher Pagayas. So it'll either be 3-2 or a strikeout. Let's see what happens. Strike 3, down he goes, and that'll be the 3rd and final out of the inning. So Liberatore finally ends the nightmare bottom of the 5th inning. It's 4-1 A's going to the top of the 6th inning on the power of the opposite field home run by the lefty Kurtz. We're going to the top of the 6th inning. It is 4-1 Athletics out in Northern California on Wednesday night. Redbird baseball. I'm your broadcaster, Paul D. It is very nice to make all of your acquaintance. Thank you for joining me. And you're watching, listening, and hopefully enjoying to this special Redbirds edition of Bombers Game Mike. Let's take a look at the chat. Yeah, he's done. I don't know how he wouldn't be done. I mean, he's basically at 90 pitches now, and he was looking winded out there. I mean, he didn't just give up a lot. He worked a lot in that inning. I would be shocked if Ollie Marmol didn't go down to Svensson in the pen, you know, in the bottom of the 6th. I would have to say that. Of course, there's always a chance they can make a comeback. Undoubtedly, this is a very chippy team. We've seen this. a far more chippy and competitive team than we've seen in years. So, yeah, absolutely they have a chance of coming back. The A's bullpen is definitely nothing special, I can tell you that much. But, of course they have a chance, no doubt. There's still time here. There's definitely still time here. So, if you're just joining me, it is 4-0 A's going to the top of the 6th inning. For most of this game, well, part of it, the Redbirds had the 1-0 lead. And then in the bottom of the 5th, old Colonel Kurtz went and hit a grand slam to left center field. And that was no wall warrior one. That thing easily got 10 to 15 feet past the top of the wall out there. And how about Michael McGreevy, man? How has he been so far this year? Again, he's out for his 6th frame of work. He's from the full wind, and here's the pitch. Upstairs, and a cutter to Gorman, the left-handed hitter. The count is 1-0 to Gorman, who has not had a good night, especially defensively. That has been hard to watch. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Head on out there to center field. Coming over is the center fielder. He dives head first and makes the sliding grab for the first out of the inning off the bat of Gorman. And that'll be the first out here in the top of the 6th inning. But if the Redbirds are going to come back, they need base runners, and they need them quick. And like I said, the A's bullpen is, let's put it this way. They're not the 90s Yankees. I'll put it that way. Simply put. That's all right. You don't need to be. Now, here comes Mason Wynn, the shortstop. He's 2 for 2 with a pair of singles. Remember, he got picked off third his last time around on base. Now, here's the first pitch. A sinker down and in to the righty hitting Wynn. And the count is 1-0. Nobody on, 1 out, 4-0 A's in the top of the 6th inning. From the full wind is Ginn. Here's the pitch. Strike, sinker on the outer third, right at the knees. And that brings the count to 1-1. And I'd like to thank once again every one of you who has decided to join me and enjoy your Cardinal game or A's game with me tonight. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Slider down and away and out of the zone. The count is 2-1 to Mason Wynn. He's been very up and very down in this game. I think that's fair to say. From the full wind is Ginn. Here's a 2-1. Hit to the third base side. Fielded there by the third baseman on the hop. Throws to first in time for the second out of the inning. So a chop ground ball down the third. Able to play it right on a hop. Clean throw over to first. There goes Mason Wynn. There are 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. 4-1 Athletics. Please hit the comeback. Well, let's see. Now, here's the lefty Church. He's 1 for 2 tonight. Righty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a sinker up and away. About belt high on the outer third to the lefty Church. The count is 0-1. There are 2 outs here in the top of the 6th inning. Ginn deals outside a changeup. Knee high floating over the righty batter's box. Counts 1-1. Simply put, they just need base runners, and Ginn is getting himself into a rhythm. Here's the pitch. Outside on that changeup. Basically identical to the one before, knee high and over the righty batter's box. And the count is now 2-1. Winding is Ginn, the 2-1 pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball, outside corner at the knees. The count is 2-2 to the lefty Church. Nobody on, 2 outs, a 2-2 count. Now here's the pitch. Fouled back behind the plate, out of play on a four-seam fastball at 94 miles per hour upstairs. The count remains 2-2. Yeah, Kurtz there, he's had a hell of a night. First base and behind the plate. One-man wrecking crew, hell. It's a 2-2 count to the lefty Church. Ginn is from the full wind. The catcher is indicating getting it down in the dirt. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit to the right side, and the right fielder plays it on a hop in front of the warning track. And it is a long single there by Church with 2 outs in the top of the 6th inning. So the Cardinals have a runner on first with 2 out here in the top of the 6th inning. A little late life Here's the catcher, Pedro Pagaya, 0 for 1 with a sac bunt, 202, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 27 games this year. It's a righty-righty matchup. The runner leads off first. And the first pitch, down and in, a sinker out of the zone. Count is 1-0 to Pagayas, who has been very active behind the plate tonight. He saved several balls that would have been wild pitches to a less athletic catcher. It's a 1-0 count. Throwing over to first is Ginn. And Church is taking a nothing lead. He just literally took a step back. The count's 1-0. Runner on first, 2 outs. 4-1 A's in the top of the 6th inning. The catcher, Pagayas, is at the plate. Here's a pitch. Sinker down and away and out of the zone. That'll bring the count to 2-0. Ultimately, for the Cardinals, they got to chip away here. They need base runners. They need some timely hitting. 3 runs is a hole, but it's entirely able to be overcome. 94 pitches so far for Ginn. He's from the stretch. And he deals. Hit, pitch right down the middle for a strike, throws down to second, and Church is thrown out, attempting to steal second for the 3rd and final out of the inning. So, unfortunately, he does not get down there. In time, the throw was right on, no question. Are they looking for a play on review? I can't quite tell. No, they are not. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. It's 4-1 Athletics out in Northern California. 4-1 A's. I'm Paul D. And this is a special edition of, a special Redbirds edition, I should say, Bombers Game Mic. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I didn't know how many people would end up showing up. I did this kind of on the fly. In fact, I'll tell you a little touching story. My wife had a hard night, not hard night, but a hard day at work. And of course, she's primarily the Cardinals fan. I called the Yankee game earlier today. That was a snoozer affair that will do nothing good for your mental health. But I thought to myself, what's something nice that I can do for my wife while I'm on the road? Because I know she likes listening to my calls. And I thought to myself, well, I'm in the Eastern time zone. The Cardinals are playing at 9:40 at night right now, where I am on the road. Let me call this game. I had no idea who would show up, but I'd like to thank you all so much for doing so. Be sure to leave a like, hit a subscribe. I'll call more Cardinals games. You guys keep coming. I'll keep calling. But we head to the bottom of the 6th inning, 4-1 A's. Here we are. And this is a young channel. We don't have many subscribers yet. This is my first season of doing them in my 2nd month. I did a lot of warm-up prior to opening day that will never be made public because I'm sure I made a total jerk of myself practicing it, and I'm sure I made a total jerk of myself behind the mic many times this year. But that's okay. That's okay because we are all joined in here for our love of baseball and quite possibly our love of gambling as well. And, both are fine in moderation. It's none of my business. But it is 4-1 A's going to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Cardinals, they just need base runners, man. They just need base runners. Simply put, and some timely hitting. Like I said, they're a chippy team. And to a degree, so are the A's. Remember, right now, the A's are in first place. The American League, minus the Yankees and the Rays. Here's the first pitch. Strike outside corner at the knees from the righty Svensson, who's now into the game in relief of Liberatore. It's an 0-1 count, a righty-righty matchup to the righty J.T. He's 0 for 2. Getting hot down there in the pen was Svensson last inning. Here's the pitch. A slider, and it's a ground ball to short. Winfield fires to first in time to get J.T. by a step at first base for the first out of the inning. But yeah, they just need base runners. We got to remember the AL is so bad this year. With the exception of the Rays and the Yankees, most of the teams in the American League have been under 500. Now, here's the first pitch. Sweeper strike outside corner at the knees to the righty Hernandez, and that'll bring the count to 0-1. So far, Svensson is dealing. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Sweeper down and away, well out of the zone at 87 miles per hour, floats over the lefty batter's box to bring the count to 1-1. He has to keep the A's right here. I have not seen that, no. Here's the pitch. Strike, sinker, down and away, outside corner, absolutely dotted that one. Did Swanson. And the count is now 1-2 strikes to Hernandez. He's 2 for 2 tonight. He's also the 8-hitter. Who would have thunk it? Coming set at the belt is the righty Swanson. And he deals. Sweeper down and away, just missed the plate and a little low. Now to bring the count to 2-2 strikes. 4-1 Athletics here in the bottom of the 6th inning. There is 1 out and nobody on. Coming set is Swanson. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Inside a sweeper. Did not sweep at all. It basically landed about, 6 feet in front of the letters of the righty Hernandez. And that'll bring the count full at 3-2. And Matt Swanson, 19 2/3 inning pitch. He has a 9.61 ERA. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and past a diving Vanderholt. And that'll be a 1-out hit here for Hernandez in the bottom of the 6th inning. Now, that is an ERA over 9 for Swanson there. Oh, boy. And that one, it just found the hole right past the diving Weatherholt. Not much you could do with that one, unfortunately. Runner on first, 1 out. It's the bottom of the 6th inning. Now, here's the 9-hitter Stefanik. He's 2 for 2 tonight. It's a righty-righty matchup. Coming set at the belt is Swanson. Here's the pitch. Strike right down Broadway with a sinker at 96 miles per hour. And the count is 0-1 to Stefanik. Michael Stefanik, the second baseman, 2 for 2 with a pair of singles and a run scored tonight. It's a 0-1 count. Coming set at the belt is Swanson. Leading off first is the runner. Here's the pitch. Strike, sinker, inside corner, right above the knees. And the count is 0-2. Stefanik is in the hole, 0-2, with the runner down at first. 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. 4-1 A's. 4-1 A's. Now coming set Swanson. Here's the pitch. Sweeper down and away. Did he go around? No, says Blue down the first baseline. And the count is 1-2. Runner on first, 1 out. Coming set at the belt is Swanson. The pitch. Hit to the right side and foul. It just breaks to the right of the bag just in time off the bat of Stefanik there. Had it not, it would have been rattling around in right field when bouncing off the rolled up tarp that's on down the first base side. Runner on first, 1 out. So 1-2 count, bottom of the 6th. 4-1 A's on the Kurtz opposite field. Grand slam back in the 5th. And he deals. Swinging strike 3. Down goes Stefanik for the 2nd out of the inning. So a very tight slider, maybe a sweeper. It was 88 miles per hour down and away. If he had not swung for it, had he not, hacked and missed, it would have been a call strike 3. So runner on first, 2 out here following the strikeout. Now they're back to the top of the order with the DH. Shea Langoliers, the right-hander. He's 0 for 2 tonight. It's a righty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Sweeper down and away, and it gets past Pagayas, and down to second is Hernandez on the pass ball. I don't know if they will rule that either a wild pitch or a pass ball. I'm more inclined to the former at the moment. Let's take a look. I think that's a pass ball. It wasn't a great pitch, but it should have been caught. Shouldn't have gotten away from him. It's a 1-0 count to Shea Langoliers. Righty-righty matchup. It's a 1-0 count. Runner on second, 2 out in the bottom of the 6th. Coming set at the belt is Swanson. And here's the pitch. Low and away on a sweeper, just a little bit low. It definitely had that outer third. Blue behind the plate, not impressed. Yeah, Shea Langoliers 0 for 2 with a walk. Coming set at the belt. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Strike, sinker, inside corner at the knees. And that'll bring the count to 2-1. Thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate that. That really does mean a lot. Gawarin, thank you so much. Now, here's the 2-1 pitch. Grounded to the right side. Right there is Burleson. He pulls it in and makes the catch for the 3rd and final out of the inning. It was a dribbling ground ball to the right side. Took it with complete ease. So the Cardinals get out of trouble there in the bottom of the 6th inning, and we go to the top of the 7th. The Redbirds are in a 3-run hole. It is 4-1 Athletics going to the top of the 7th inning. This is Wednesday night West Coast Redbirds baseball. I am your broadcaster, Paul D. It is a pleasure to make all of your acquaintance, and thank you for joining me tonight. And for all intents and purposes, this is a special Cardinal edition of Bombers Game Mic. Pagayas was fast at bat. Scott up, then Weatherholt, then Herrera, then Burleson. Yep. It's getting late early, unfortunately. But like I said, the A's bullpen is really nothing to write home about. I mean, they can do something. I'd like to think they can do something. Hey, man, thank you so much for joining me, Johnny Lou. It's really been a pleasure meeting you. Hope you come back sometime. It has been a pleasure. So we're waiting for the top of the 7th inning, 4-1 A's. These MLB.TV commercials are absolutely interminable. Holy crap. Just get hit over the head with T-Mobile commercials, no surprise. Even though they are also advertising the NBA Finals, and hopefully the Knicks can make it to that. Cheers, my friend Johnny Lou. You take care of yourself now. And we wait. And all these La Liga commercials. Ever since MLB.TV got absorbed to agree by ESPN, gross. That's all I'm seeing nowadays, La Liga commercials. I mean, I like international soccer, but, I'm a baseball guy. Cheers, my friend. Cheers. So we're here for the top of the 7th inning. Redbirds are down 4-1 out in Northern California in Sacramento. We have a pitching change here. The right-hander Justin Sterner is coming in relief in 19 games, 19 and 2/3 innings pitched. A 4.12 ERA, a 1.37 whip, and a K per 9 of 10.07. And a ground ball percentage of 54.4, apparently. That's a thing. That is definitely a thing. Leading off is the catcher Pagayas, with the throw down to second and catching the runner in the previous inning, so he gets another shot at this thing. It's a righty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball, outside corner, right there at the knees, and the count is quickly 0-1 to the catcher Pagayas in the righty-righty matchup. Pagayas is 0 for 1 tonight. Coming set is the pitcher. Here's the pitch. A cutter down and away and out of the zone. The count is 1-1. Righty Sterner does seem to have decent stuff. Pagayas 0 for 1 with a sac bunt earlier. Coming set is Sterner. Here's the pitch. Hit out there down the right field line, giving chase at the right fielder, charging in, and it will play it on a hop. So a leadoff single here by Pagayas, and the Cardinals are now in business here in the top of the 7th inning. Not a moment too soon, folks. Coming up here is the lefty center fielder, Scott. Properly addressed Scott the second. Runner on first with nobody out. It's 4-1 A's here in the top of the 7th inning. Victor Scott the second. Over 2 with the ground out and a strikeout. He's on the interstate at 180. A lefty-righty matchup. Runner on first. Here's the pitch. Fouled straight back on a four-seam fastball up and in at 93 miles per hour. The count is 0-1. They're looking for base runners, folks, any way they can find them, even from the 9-hitter if it's possible. Coming set is Sterner at the letters. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike, swung right on over the top of a cutter down and in, and the count is now no balls and 2 strikes. Stepping back into the box there, digging in is Scott. Moving quickly for the most part is Sterner. He comes set at the letters. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Down and in a cutter, well out of the zone. Had the plate, definitely did not have the height. It was basically ankle high on the inner third of the plate. The count is 1-2. It's definitely a cutter that has some serious movement to it. I will give Sterner credit for that. It's a 1-2 count, nobody on, runner on first. Here's the pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball, 94 miles per hour, nowhere close to the zone. The count evens out at 2-2. So we shall see. And as far as the chat's concerned, I always address it in the half inning. Sometimes I can get to it during the action, but I will address it. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike three, swung right over the top of a sweeper, down and in for the first out of the inning. So now it's runner on first with one out here in the top of the seventh inning, 4-1 Athletics. Now they're back to the top of the order with the lefty second baseman Winterholt. He's been keeping busy tonight. Righty-lefty matchup. Winterholt, he's 1 for 3. Now here's the pitch. Strike swung right through a four-seam fastball up and away from the lefty Winterholt. Count is 0-1. Doing a favor there for Sterner. That thing was nowhere close to the bloody zone, but to be expected. The count is 0-1. Leading off first is Pagayas. Coming set at the letters is Sterner. And he deals. Swinging strike, four-seam fastball down and away, 95 miles per hour. Hacked right underneath that one did Witherell. And the count is now 0-2. Oh, it was in extras. Okay. I'll go on a rant shortly about the extra innings rules. But we'll get to that soapbox in a minute. Runner on first, one out. It's an 0-2 count to Witherell. Here's the pitch. Upstairs, some cheese laid off it. Four-seam fastball, 94 miles per hour. That brings the count to 1-2. Because I definitely got some things to say on that friggin' ghost runner in extra innings. Leading off first is Pagayas. Here's the 1-2. Hit on out to right center field, giving chase at the right fielder, and it falls in, and he plays it on a hop. Coming around second is the runner, and Pagayas will go to third, so runners on first and third with one out on this one-out single to right field by Witherholt. It was a breaking ball down and away, and he just pulled it to right center field. Nobody had a chance. He got it right there in the big gap between the center and right fielder. So runners on first and third and one out. If the Cardinals have a shot to get back in this game, it happens right here. Here comes Ivan Herrera, the DH. 1 for 3 tonight. Singled back in the fifth. It's a righty-righty matchup. Big open stance for Herrera. Here's the pitch. Hit on out there to right field. Going back as the right fielder. He plays it and he makes the catch. Coming home on the sac fly there is Pagayas. And now the Cardinals have gotten their second run of the game. It is now 4-2 Athletics with 2 outs here in the top of the seventh inning. They have a runner on first and the 3 hitters coming up here. And we have ourselves, it would appear, a pitching change. Incoming is the right-hander Harris to face the lefty Burleson. You all have been very interested in him tonight. And so, hey, they've just cut the A's lead in half. Yeah, seriously. That's what happens when you go home early. That's what happens when you basically, have the game time behavior of a Dodgers fan or an Angels fan show up in the third inning, lead in the seventh. And if Johnny Lou ever comes back around, I hope he knows. I'm just busting his chops there. But that's what happens when you act like a Dodger fan or an Angels fan. Not a Padres fan so much, but definitely a Dodgers fan. That's what happens. You got to stick around for all 9. You got to stick around all 9. That's where the fun happens, folks. That's where the fun happens. So if you're just joining me here, Cardinals finally getting themselves back into this game. And if you will, in the chat, let me know where you're listening or watching from. I always like to know that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. The Cardinals have a much bigger reach than sometimes we even realize. More than just the Midwest. I turned an Englishman a couple of years who lives in Plymouth, England, into a diehard Cardinal fan. Kurt's made me very happy tonight. I stacked all those A's batters on my lineup. He lit it up. Yeah, well, seriously, cheers to you on the fantasy team right there. Oh, you're still here, Johnny Lou. Hey. You know what happens when you duck out early. You get the busted chops. You get your chops busted. That's kind of the way it is. But thank you for coming back. Great to have you back. And we're waiting for this pitching change. Here's the righty, Hogan Harris. In 22 games, 20 and 2/3 innings pitched, a 2.61 ERA, a whip of 1.65, and a Ks per 9 inning of 9.58. This guy likes to strike you out. A lot. About a K per 9. It's a lefty-lefty matchup, of course, against Burleson. Coming set at the stretch is Harris. Here's the pitch. Slider down and way out of the zone, managing to block it. And Weatherholt's going to stay right there first. He does not have the room to advance. The 1-0 count. Burleson 2 for 3 tonight. He's been doing everything you'd want from a 3-hitter. It's a lefty-lefty matchup. Coming set at the belt is Harris. Now, here's the 1-0 pitch. Outside a cutter. Had the height, did not have the plate. Basically floated over the righty batter's box. Count is 2-0 to Alec Burleson, who is definitely looking for his pitch right here. If he connects with one, tie game. Coming set is Harris. And here's the 2-0 pitch. Hit right on up the middle and over the second baseman's head and fielded by the right fielder on a pair of hops. And Pagayas is going to stay right there. He nearly got picked off. Correction, Wenderholt was right there. He nearly got picked off. So a 2-out single here by Burleson, and that'll make it runners on first and second with 2 outs here in the top of the 7th inning. So everything is absolutely dancing on a pinhead here. The Cardinals are one big knock from getting back into this game. And boy, Redbird base running tonight has been a little frustrating. Now here comes our man Jordan Walker, the very guy any Redbird fan this year would hope is up at the plate in a very important, very clutch, potentially, position. He's really come into his own here. Is this a play on review on the throw at second base on whether Holt got picked off going back? It might be. I'll let you know, because they are clearly waiting on something. Unfortunately, Cardinals.tv doesn't bother mentioning whether something is under review. And no, he's fine. Runners on first and second, 2 out. Here's the righty, Jordan Walker. This is the guy you want to get you back into game. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Hit on down the first base side, and it seems to be slicing out of play. And the count is 0-1. Walker tonight, he's 0 for 3. Not his biggest night so far of 2026. But boy, has it been something watching him put it together. This guy is a player. This guy is a ball player. It's an 0-1 count, lefty-righty matchup. The pitch. Foul back behind the plate on a four-seam fastball up and in at 95 miles per hour. And the count is 0-2. He struck out looking, fouled out, and popped out. That is what we've seen tonight so far from the venerable Jordan Walker. He's down in the hole 0-2. Time is granted by the home plate umpire at the behest of Walker, so we wait a little longer. He digs back on into the box. It's an 0-2 count. Runners on first and second, 2 out. Top of the 7th. It's 4-2 A's. Here's the pitch. In the dirt, a changeup. Holding easily there. Not even tempted is Walker. That'll advance the count to 1-2. So he is a he looks like a very still, very calm player on the outside when he's at bat. I have no idea how he feels internally, but he's as cool a player, at least in terms of his external features, as Cody Bellinger is. Stepping off right here, off the rubber is Harris, so we get to wait a little longer. Cody Bellinger, a hydrogen bomb could go off a mile away, and the expression on his face would never change. Same with Jordan Walker. Here's the 1-2. Curveball down and in the dirt, holding up right there is Walker. That'll even out the count at 2-2. So Walker is working his way back into this at-bat. For some reason right now, the score bug for the Cardinals is still showing 1-2. I don't know why. Now here's the 2-2 pitch. Hit on out down left field. Giving chase is both the third baseman and the shortstop in foul territory in front of the stands, and it goes into the first row of the stands and just beyond the netting. Just beyond the netting. It is indeed a 2-2 count. I have verified that with the MLB app here. So for whatever reason, the score bug for the Cardinals is behind. It's showing 1-2. It is definitely 2-2. And don't feel too bad about it. The S Network has a terrible score bug. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Swinging strike 3 right over the curveball, down and in, and that will do it. Down goes Jordan Walker for the final out of the inning. But the Cardinals do get one back and cut that A's lead in half as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. It is 4-2 A's. I'm your broadcaster this evening, Paul D. And if you're just joining me, thank you for joining this special Cardinals edition of Bombers Game Mike. If you guys are enjoying this, I'm going to do more Cardinal games. I'm all for it myself. I live in the St. Louis area now, so why not? The transplant local guy that's married to the native. But in any case, this is a special Cardinal edition of Cardinals Game Night. Cardinals Bombers Game Mike, I should say. And this is Wednesday night Cardinal baseball from the West Coast. A little bit of late night baseball. I'm always down for that. And I'd like to thank you for watching, listening, and enjoying, hopefully, Bombers Game Night. We head to the bottom of the 7th. Slim odds, but not impossible. I think that's probably a pretty fair assessment of what's going on. And 8 guys until Burleson comes back. Fair enough. Fair enough. So if you're just joining me here for the first time at Bombers Game Mike, like I said, this is a special edition. I usually do Yankee games, but I have a deep affection for the Cardinals in addition to, living with my wife in St. Charles. So kind of a local thing. I may be a transplant. She is not. I have had an affection for the Cardinals for many years. And it helps that the woman I married made that a much more enticing thing. Never gave up my Yankee fandom. I still call Yankee games primarily. But after tonight, I'm going to call some more Cardinal games. I think there's maybe there's a little something special here. I've had a lot of fun with you all. So if you hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit a like, because that really helps a young channel. I ask you for your support in that. It is free. Now, here comes Brewell. Brewell, the left-hander, 18 innings pitched, a 5 ERA, a whip of 1.44, 5.5 Ks per 9. It's a lefty-lefty matchup here. Here's the first pitch. Sweeper strike, outside corner at the knees to the lefty Kurtz. He's the one that's responsible for all of the A's offense following that grand slam the other way back in the 5th inning. It's an 0-1 count. Here's the pitch. Head on out there to left field, giving chase is a left fielder, and it falls for a base hit in the corner. Coming around first is Kurtz, and he will be into second with a stand-up lead-off double here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Kurtz is having one hell of a night. I mean, God, he has been a total Redbird killer tonight. And if the Cardinals are to get back into this game, they simply can't. I'm almost curious if that ball went foul quickly, but clearly it didn't. It was on kind of a fly. Runner on second, nobody out. Here's the righty Thomas in the 3-hole. Now, here's the pitch. Strike, sinker right down Broadway. The count is 0-1. A lefty-righty matchup with Brewell on the mound and Colby Thomas, the right fielder, in the righty batter's box. The 3-hitter tonight. Runner on second. Here's the 0-1. Down and away, a changeup, 81 miles per hour, not particularly close to the zone. The count is 1-1. Colonel Kurtz out there, down at second. God, can we get him out sometime? Coming set is the lefty Brewell. And he deals. Hit to the left side, and with a diving stop by Ginn, but he cannot pick it up for the throw. So it will probably be ruled an infield single there. And that will put runners on first and third for the A's here in the bottom of the 7th inning. I tell you, if he can't hold the A's here, it's going to be a mighty, mighty hill to overcome offensively in the final 2 frames for the Redbirds. A great effort there by Ginn. He went diving head first, glove side, and even if he did pick it up and make the throw, there is no way he would have beat the runner to the bag. So now here's the righty Rooker. He's 1 for 3. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Somebody's playing around out in the 380 sign on the outfield wall. And Rooker steps in. He's 1 for 3. Runners on first and third with nobody out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's 4-2 A's out in Sacramento. Now here's the first pitch from Brule. A sweeper down and in to the righty, well out of the zone. The count is 1 ball and no strikes. Coming set at the belt is Brule. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Strike, sinker right down Broadway at the knees. Absolutely bifurcates the plate. Count is 1-1. So the A's have a runner 90 feet away from scoring. First and third and nobody out. It's a 1-1 count to Rooker. He deals. Strike, sinker down and in at the knees on the inner third. And the count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brent Rooker lined out, singled, and struck out swinging, I should say. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Chopped down the third base side and out of play, and the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes to the righty Rooker. Getting hot down in the pen is the righty Gordon Graceffo. What a name. Ollie Marmol, looking about as pale-faced and expressionless as always. Now here's the 1-2 pitch. Up and away on a cutter at 91 miles per hour, not nearly close to the zone. Brings the count to 2-2. Back on the bump is Brule. It's a 2-2 count. And he throws over to first. There's a nothing lead over there. I have no idea why he even tried it. Whatever the case is, it's still 2-2 to the righty Rooker, who's 1 for 3 tonight. Brule looks in for the sign. He comes set at the belt. And the southpaw deals. Popped on up out there in medium right field. Underneath it is Walker. Will he try on the throw? And holding at third is the runner, and it gets away from the catcher. Luckily, it was backed up properly by Brule. That's what we like to call fundamental baseball, folks. That's the stuff they teach you in Little League, and he did it perfectly. However, that will bring the runner from first to second, and now it is runners on second and third with 1 out in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's still 4-2 A's. Both teams still retain both of their ABS challenges here late in regulation. A very good play on the part of Jordan Walker hauling that thing in. He obviously respected the throw, did Kurt, so he didn't go from third to home. Unfortunately, he overthrew the thing. Luckily, Brule was backing it up. However, with it getting overthrown, the runner advanced from first to second. And here comes Ollie Marmol. And here comes the righty Graceffo to face Bolt. He is getting hot down there in the pen, and here he comes. So, Brule, not exactly a sterling outing, certainly keeps the Cardinals back against the wall here in the bottom of the 7th inning because they absolutely 100% have to keep the A's right where they are. And they need base runners. Simply put, they have to be able to cut and make some of their own breaks here. But we shall see. And obviously, the Cards want to get a series win. You split out in San Diego, which is actually quite impressive. The San Diego team has been pretty damn good this year. They're really holding their own, but they split a 4-game set. And you want to be able to nail down a series win right here and not have to go to the rubber match tomorrow. And at the very least, the Cardinals can come home to good old St. Louis to face the Royals in the I-70 rivalry matchup. In fact, I may be back in time to actually go to that game. I was talking about one of those games at least. I don't think the Friday night one, but maybe Saturday or Sunday. That could be fun. That can be fun. I understand what's happening right now with downtown St. Louis very keenly. I've seen it firsthand. So I know what's going on down there. But even despite that, especially a guy that grew up in the New York City area, you can take care of yourself. I still really do enjoy going to Busch Stadium, regardless, especially when there's a young competitive team. So, the righty Graceffo, he's throwing some of his warm-up tosses here, which we are waiting to conclude. 21 innings pitch, an ERA of 1.71, a whip of 0.95, and 4.29 Ks per 9 innings. About a 45.8% ground ball rate. Well, we know his game. Clearly, and he's clearly executed it very well here so far. And it is our righty-righty matchup here. To Bolt, here's the pitch. Down and in, just missed, just below the knees, and the count is now 1-0. To Bolt. From the stretch is Graceffo. He sets at the birds. Here's the pitch. Fouled off down the first base side and out of play. That was a slider that came in and on the hands of the righty Bolt. And the count is 1-1. Runners on second and third with one out here in the bottom of the seventh inning. 4-2 Athletics. Graceffo needs to hold them right here. Now here's the 1-1. Hit on out there to right field. Jordan Walker is back about 10 feet in front of the track. He makes the catch, and he's throwing home. Coming in for the sac fly is Kurtz, and that'll be the fifth run for the Athletics. 5-2 A's. The runner tags up from second as well, but it is indeed the second out of the inning. Jordan Walker with a couple of putouts here in the bottom of the second, in the bottom of the seventh. 5-2 A's. If they can't hold him any further, as they say, it gets late early. But the A's bullpen's nothing special. You just got to hold this team here and now. They shall not pass. No pasaran. That is not coded. That is not coded. I'm just a history buff. That's actually my primary thing, is history. One of the reasons I love baseball so much is you can't really understand it unless you're properly steeped in the history of the game. That's one of the more unique features of Major League Baseball compared to any other major sporting league in this country. So here's the lefty Hyam. It's a righty-lefty matchup. And here's the first pitch. Hit on out there in left field. Underneath it, he's right there to make the catch for the third and final out of the inning. However, the A's put up one more, going to the top of the eighth inning. It is 5-2 A's out in Northern California. This is Wednesday late night Cardinal baseball on the West Coast. I am your broadcaster, Paul D. Thank you so much for joining me. And you are watching, listening, and hopefully enjoying this special Cardinal edition of Bombers Game Mic. Well, I appreciate all of you who have stuck around. Some of you being the Cardinal faithful, undoubtedly some of you being the Athletic faithful. I'm cool for both. And as far as the A's fans are concerned, especially regarding Oakland, if I can just express my condolences for your ownership. I'm sorry. I know this team has bounced from the East Coast to Kansas City to the West Coast, and then, the year after next they're going down to Vegas. But, this is very slimy. A very slimy ownership. Kurtz is on fire. 27 of my 117 fantasy points tonight. 10-player lineup, and he's contributing 23% of my points. Well, I can tell you this. Cheers to you on that lineup choice right now. You are raking because of one guy tonight. I take it you play head-to-head and you don't play rotisserie. I don't know anybody that plays rotisserie anymore. I don't know anybody that's played rotisserie in years. I sure as hell haven't. Even though, in all fairness, when it comes to baseball, I do occasionally, every few seasons, play fantasy baseball. I actually play more fantasy football. I have a dedicated league that keeps coming back, and it's a whole long thing. But a lot of times it's just easier. Yeah, you're playing head-to-head on Yahoo. Yeah, that's how I've always done it. Now, here's the righty, Luis Medina, 14 2/3 innings pitch, a 1.84 ERA, a whip of 1.09, and a K per 9.20. He is in here against the lefty batter. Here's the pitch. Up and in, four-seam fastball, nowhere close to the zone. And the count is 1-0 to the lefty third baseman, Gorman, who's 1 for 2 tonight, and a couple of errors. Things that never should have happened with any competent third base defense. Here's the 1-0. Strike, sinker, outside corner at the knees to the lefty Gorman. The count's 1-1. It is the top of the 8th inning. Nobody on, nobody out. 5-2 A's out in Sacramento. Getting late early. The righty Medina is on the hill. It's a righty-lefty matchup against the lefty-handed Gorman. Here's the pitch. And it is a fly ball out to medium right field. Underneath it is the right fielder. He makes the catch. Butler for the first out of the inning. Got underneath it. That's the first out here. Okay. Now here comes the shortstop, Mason Wynn, 2 for 3 tonight. He's had some wonderful moments. He's had some bonehead moments. He steps into the plate, righty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Up and in, a sinker, 98 miles per hour. But nowhere remotely close to the zone. The count's 1-0. Medina, he has some good stuff and some good numbers. He is not going to be easy to take advantage of. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Hit to the left side, played there by the shortstop on the back end. He throws to first in time for the second out of the inning. 2 up, 2 down so far here in the top of the 8th for the Redbirds. If they want a shot at this thing, they got to get it moving. I know they got a little bit of the cardiac kids gene in them, but nobody likes to rely on that. That's what happens when you run into quality pitching out of the bullpen, though. Coming set at the belt is Medina, the lefty Church. He's up. He's 2 for tonight. Here's the pitch. A curveball down and in. Did he go around? No, says Blue down the third baseline. And the count is 1-0 to Nathan Church. Lined out, single and a single. Pretty good night. Hitting .254 on the year, 5 home runs. Not bad for a 7-hitter. Here's the 1-0. Down and in, a four-seam fastball at 97 miles per hour. The count is 2-0. Well, see, that's the thing. If you have a good bullpen, you're going to beat good teams over 500. If you have a bedpan as opposed to a bullpen, good teams will expose you. Every time. Especially through 162. Here's the pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball right down Broadway at the knees. Bisects the plate, and the count goes to 2-1. That's in the high 90s here. Medina definitely throws some easy gas, it would appear. 2-1, nobody on, 2 out, top of the 8th inning, 5-2 A's. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Hit on out there to right center field. Going back is the right fielder in front of the track. And he is right there, and he makes the catch on the middle of the track for the third and final out of the inning. His second put out of the game. So we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's 5-2 A's, and the Cardinals got to hold him right here and hope for some good answered prayers in the top of the 9th. But whatever the case may be, 5-2 Athletics going to the bottom of the 8th. This is late night West Coast St. Louis Cardinal baseball. I'm Paul D., and this is a special edition, a special Cardinal edition of Bombers Game Mike. Yeah. I really would like to see, they definitely need base runners. Holy hell. And as far as playing head-to-head on Yahoo, I grew up doing that. And, I was definitely a baseball junkie, still am. But even at the time, as outward of a baseball junkie nerd as I was, I still had a girlfriend, so I balanced out pretty well back in the day. Balanced out pretty well back in the day. I don't know if it would be as easy today, but I don't really care. I'm happily married. So we await the bottom of the 8th inning. And I'd like to thank you all so much for staying here and joining me, especially since many of you, this is your first time watching and hanging with Bombers Game Mike. Like I said, my name is Paul D. I primarily do Yankee games, hence the Bombers and Bombers Game Mike. But I live in St. Charles, Missouri, right next to the Missouri River. I am a local transplant married to a native of St. Louis. It is a place that has very much a place I have great fondness for, and I'm happy to call my home. And I'm going to do more Cardinal games. You guys seem to enjoy it, so subscribe, hit the bell. I'll put out a community post on days that I'm doing them. And hopefully you all get to see that. I'll bear it in mind. Yankees have the off day tomorrow. So, for this guy's perspective right here, taking a look at things, here's the first pitch. Up and away on a four-seam fastball, 95 miles per hour to the righty, Gillif. And the count is 1-0. It's a righty-righty matchup. Graceffo's out there for his second frame. Here's the pitch. Hit on out there to right center field, going back in front of the track. He's looking up, and it is gone. A solo home run by J-Loft to right center field, and that'll put up the A's 6-2 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. That one ended up being a no-doubter, folks, and I'm very sad to say that. Right now, it's a 6-2 athletics league out in Northern California. Okay. So the Yankees have an off day tomorrow. However, it's the third of the 3 games set for the Cardinals and the A's. And where I am right now on the road on the East Coast, it's 3:05 p.m. start time. I'll call that. Here's the pitch. Hit on out there to shallow right field. Coming in is Walker. He moves over a couple steps to make the catch for the first out of the inning. Yeah, I'll come back tomorrow afternoon and do this. Absolutely. 100% I'll do that, regardless of what happens here. So if you guys are down, just subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. If you're in the Central Time Zone, that's what? 2:05 start out in the Central Time Zone. Now here's the second baseman, Michael Stefanik. He's 2 for 3 tonight. It's a righty-righty matchup against Graceffo. Here's the pitch. Check down the first base side and out of play on a slider, 89 miles per hour. The count is 0-1. Yeah, I'll come back for that. So just hit subscribe, hit the bell. We can do this all again tomorrow afternoon if you're down for it. I'll be here. I got nothing else to do on this trip. Now, here's the 0-1 pitch. Grounded to the left side, fielded there by Wynn on a hop. He throws to first in time for the second out of the inning. Very solid defense on that one. Fielding it on a couple of hops, having to range slightly to his right is Wynn. And we are 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Here comes Shea Langoliers. He's 0 for 3 tonight. It's a righty-righty matchup. Righty-righty matchup. Now, here's the first pitch. Fouled down the first base side out of play on a slider up and in. That's definitely not where Graceffo wanted that to be. He gets away with it. The count's 0-1. Shea Langoliers lined into a double play, walked and grounded out. So 0 for 3 with a walk. Now, here's the 0-1. Hit down the left field side and foul. Just breaks to the left side of the bag there. And that brings the count 0-2 to Shea Langoliers. Having to keep him right here. Well, you're very lucky. You're very lucky to be able to call him Pop. I'll tell you that much. It's an 0-2 count. Graceffo comes set at the Birds. Now, here's the 0-2 pitch. Check swing. Did he go around on the curveball? Yeah, he checked it. Home plate umpire doesn't even appeal to first. Count is 1-2. Graceffo, after that solo home run, he is not making it easy for the Cardinals, and the Cardinal bullpen hasn't been making it easy for the Cardinals. Now, here's the 1-2 pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball, 97 miles per hour, letter high, and off the plate to the righty, Langoliers. That brings the count to 2-2. I'm not going to say your last name out loud. That's going to get me banned. Here's the pitch. Fly ball out to center field. Going back is Scott there in center field. He makes the catch on the warning track for the third and final out of the inning. Unfortunately, another Oppo Taco solo job puts the Athletics up 6-2 going to the top of the ninth. It's last licks for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's do or die in this late night, Wednesday night, West Coast edition of St. Louis Cardinal Baseball. I'm your broadcaster, Paul D. Thank you so much for joining me for the first time. I hope to see you all again. Leave a like and subscribe, man. I'll be back tomorrow doing this. The Yankees are off. And they're playing here at 3:05 on the East Coast right now where I am. I'll definitely call the Cardinal game tomorrow afternoon. It looks like it's going to be a rubber match. However, I'm Paul D., and this is a special Redbirds edition of Bombers Game Mike. This has been a wonderful night. He's 23. I was about to say, his boy has grown up fast enough to type on a computer. I love it. And, Kale boy, I see how your name is spelled. And I also know, as somebody has spent a lot of time on YouTube through various endeavors, that's the kind of thing you say out loud and you get a community strike for. So if you're just bluffing with me and trying to get me to say it out loud, it ain't going to work. I'm a vet here. I know what happens when those kind of words get uttered on YouTube, in addition to a bunch of other ones, unfortunately. But if that is indeed your name, cheers, my friend. Hoorah to you. All right, we're awaiting the top of the ninth inning. The Redbirds, they're down by 4. And they're going to be starting out with the 8-hitter here in the top of the ninth. 2 12-1 Cardinals, 6 13-1 Athletics. I don't know how Gorman doesn't get 2 errors tonight on both of those plays. I don't know. Now, here comes Jack Perkins in 10 games, 15 in the third innings pitch, a 4.11 ERA, a whip of 1.24, a 12.33 K per 9 this year. And here is the righty catcher, Pagas. Here's a pitch. Hit on out to right field, giving chase of the right fielder towards the corner. He's in front of the track in the corner, and he makes the catch for the first out of the inning. So 1 pitch, 1 out to Pagas. And now we go to the 9-hitter. It's going to be Furman. Nobody on, 1 out, top of the 9th inning. The Cardinals are down 6-2. They don't have much left to work with. Perkins, the reliever, works from the full wind, and here's the first pitch. Strike, 4-seam fastball, outside corner thigh high at 97 miles per hour. The count is quickly 0-1 to the righty hitting Furman. He's off the bench. He's pinch hitting. And Perkins deals. Sweeper just missed the outside corner and had it at the knees, but it didn't have the plate according to Blue behind home plate. The count's 1-1 to Furman in his first at-bat tonight. Coming set is Perkins from the full wind. Here's the 1-1. Down and in, a sweeper and out of the zone. The count is 2-1. Wisely laying off that, here is Perkins. Old number 15. From the full wind, once again, is Perkins. Very interesting for a reliever. Here's the 2-1. Strike, 4-seam fastball on the outer third, 96 miles per hour, and that is challenged immediately by Perkins, so the Cardinals are using an ABS challenge here on that second strike call, and the strike is confirmed. The Cardinals lose their ABS challenge. They have 1 remaining in regulation. It caught just the lower third of the plane and the lower left corner of it from the pitcher's perspective. The count is 2-2 to Perkins. It was worth the old college try. It was definitely close. Now, here's the 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball well away and goes all the way to the backstop. And the count is now 3-2 to Perkins. Cardinals need base runners. He might not. Not at the rate they're going right now. We won't see Burleson unless they get some guys on here, and they need all they can at the moment. Here's the 3-2. Popped on out there to left center field, giving chases both the left fielder and the center fielder. Left fielder comes in, and it falls in between the center fielder and left fielder for a one-out single by Perkins. An absolutely awful defensive play by both the left fielder and center fielder of the A's. There is no excuse for letting that thing fall in. It was definitely a lack of communication there, and it just falls in equidistant between both of them in shallow left center field. So the Cardinals have a runner on first with one out in the top of the ninth inning. We're back to the top of the lineup with the lefty second baseman Weatherholtz. Righty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Outside, four-seam fastball, 96 miles per hour. The count is 1 ball, no strike. J.J. Weatherholt, a single, a ground out, a foul out, and a single. 2 for 4. Not bad. Here's the 1-0 from Perkins. Here's the pitch. Outside, a sinker misses the plate. The count is 2-0. Okay. Well, they are letting them into the game. There is an absolute glimmer of hope here with 1 out and 1 on here in the top of the ninth against the hard-throwing Perkins. Back in is the second baseman, lefty hitting Weatherholt. He's 2 for 4 once again. It's a 2-0 count in the righty-lefty matchup. Runner leads off first for the Redbirds. Now here's the 2-0 pitch. Foul back behind the plate and out of play. A 97-mile-per-hour four-seam fastball on the outer third, about thigh-high, which brings the count to 2-1. I mean, it's a 4-run deficit, so in theory, a swing of the bat can tie it. But right now, this is all about base runners, plain and simple. Coming set is the righty Perkins. Here's a 2-1. Up and away. Four-seam fastball, 96 miles per hour. Had nothing of the plate, and that advances the count to 3 balls and 1 strike. So grinding out this at-bat right now is the Cardinals' second baseman. He is looking for something. Now here's the 3-1. Foul back and out of play on a four-seam fastball right down Broadway, 96 miles per hour according to the official broadcast. And the count is now 3 balls and 2 strikes. Old number 26 is just grinding this at-bat. On deck is the DH, Ivan Herrera. The count is full, 3-2. Runner on first, 1 out, top of the ninth, 6-2 A's. Here's the pitch. Down and in. It actually got his foot, I think. And so Weatherholt will take his base. Now they have runners on first and second with 1 out here in the top of the ninth inning. Here comes Ivan Herrera with that big open right-handed stance. And we're seeing on the replay here. Yeah, and Perkins just drilled Weatherholt right in his left foot, like right on top of it. He's fine. He's absolutely fine. So runners on first and second, 1 out. There's a little bit of a powwow out on the mound with the A's pitching coach. It's just Perkins and the catcher. Definitely not a grand holiday affair on the mound. And for those of you asking and talking about it, yeah, Alec Burleson, he's on deck. He's on deck. So long as Herrera doesn't, bumble into a double play, Alec Burleson will get that next at bat here in the top of the ninth. Ivan Herrera grounded into a double play, grounded out, a single. It's 1 for 3 tonight. Here's the pitch. Popped him straight up, and he is absolutely disgusted with himself. Underneath it is the second baseman. He makes the catch easily in shallow right center field for the second out of the inning. Ivan Herrera, as soon as he made contact with that, slammed that bat down as hard as he could as he jogged up to first base. Now, here's the lefty, Alec Burleson. He's 3 for 4, but even if he connects with 1, they will still be trailing by 1. He's 3 for 4 tonight. Double, single, foul out, and a single. Righty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Strike sweeper inside corner at the knees to the big left-handed slugger playing first base for the Cardinals. The count is no balls, 1 strike. The Cardinals are down to their final out. Can they make this close? We shall see. Coming set is Perkins. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Hit on back down the third base side and out of play. And the count is 0-2. So Alec Burleson and the Cardinals here are down to their final strike. They have runners on first and second with 2 out. They are down 6-2 in the top of the 9th inning against the A's. The big difference here being the Oppo Taco by Kurtz back in the 5th. Here's the pitch. Up and away, a 4-seam fastball, 96 miles per hour, not even remotely close to the zone. And the count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Yeah, he is like a shark in the water. Let's hope he feeds. Let's hope he feeds. Coming set at the letters is Perkins. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike 3. Down goes Burleson, and that will do it. So unfortunately, this late rally here on the part of the Cardinals just couldn't materialize, and we have a final 6-2 Athletics here on Wednesday night. Well, I want to thank all of you that have come here and joined me for the first time. This is the first Cardinal game that I've done. I'm mostly a Yankee channel, but I can definitely tell you after tonight, I'm definitely going to do more Cardinal games, specifically tomorrow afternoon, which starts at 2:05 p.m. Central Time, for those of you that are local, at the very least in the Central Time Zone. However, it has been a pleasure getting to know all of you, and I hope to have you back. Like it. Helps the channel a lot. Subscribe so you know when it comes out. And I'll let you know tomorrow. I usually put out a community post or something like that. So thank you so much for joining me in this special Redbirds edition of Bombers Game Mic. It is 6-2 Athletics is the final. I'm Paul D. This is the special presentation of Bombers Game Mic. Bombers Game Mic. Oh, thank you so much. I am more than happy to do this, and I'm glad you had so much fun. I had just as much fun myself. I hope to see you again. Come on back. You're welcome anytime for any game. But this has been a special presentation of Bombers Game Mic. 6-2 is the final. The A's out in Oakland. I'll be back tomorrow for the 2:05 Central start. Bombers Game Mic, over and out.